Let's make sure. Yep, we're live. So, yep, we're live. Yeah, we're live. So we got Stig over here, the Atlantis man, the legend, you know. And then we got Fear as always. It's
Well,
us
yeah, I
three.
got to go live too. I got to go live. I'm going to send this live myself. What's going on here? Maybe it is live already.
Let's see.
I'll double check. I'm checking now.
You should be.
I think it's probably live. Good. No, there's an ad, of course. I stopped paying.
Hold on.
I guess I got to let the ad run. Yeah, there's a thumbs up already. Something's going on. I'm getting some weird kind of feedback. Skip. There we go. Yeah, I'm getting it over here.
Looks like there we go.
Getting some kind
of a
weird
mic check.
Okay. It's looking good over at my channel. So we've got a whole new crowd of people. I got 12,000 subscribers. So I think that the fact that I'm sharing this with my subscribers is a good potential. Crypto Alchemist is in the house. He's already asking people to hit that like button. Crypto is one of my favorite followers. Crypto, I did an interview the first night of Cosmic Summit. And then stuff happened. And on his end as well. And he's just starting his own stream, so he's out of here. He's so good about coming in and getting people to hit that like button. So Tyrone, before everybody, rebirth of the world.com. What's that all about?
Rebirth of the word.
Oh shit! Sorry about that. Of the word.
That's right. Yeah.
Of the word.com.
Yeah. So it's just and thanks for going live on your channel. That's very helpful for me and Fear and other guys for our channel, and getting exposure and stuff like that.
Collabs.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. So rebirthoftheword.com is basically just a blog website that I created years ago that I go through the different parts of history. Like I start with the Sumerians, I talk about the Mesoamericans, I talk about the Anuna/Anunnaki, and I actually give the actual sources, with pages at most times, which is on my YouTube channel, which I do videos from my website. So basically everything that's on my website is being moved into a video format onto my YouTube channel. So people,
can you give your YouTube channel the shout out?
Oh yeah, so it's actually just type in Rebirth of the Word. Let me see. I got to pull up the actual.
Pull up the screen. And by the way, there is a little kind of a weird interference thing happening. I don't know whose mic it is. I don't think it could be me, but I'm just letting you know. You said you did a mic check. Is that what that was? That interference?
Yeah. No, I always do the mic check. Let me see when I go live to see if everything's going good, and it sounded good on there. Let me see. We're gonna do another one. Hold on, let me mute myself real quick.
Fear, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing mighty fine, thank you. But I think I'm on the lagging end too. So let me minimize the amount of electronics I got going on.
I'm just gonna fix my camera a little bit too, since everybody's messing with stuff. I've got a lot of changes going on. Yeah, and I gave an update video today. See, that's a little better. I was messing with my screen, and I think I need to change it. I like the way your guys' look a little better than mine. But I lived in Taiwan for 25 years, and this is the one I bought literally for like $15 like 10 years ago at this downtown Chinese market. I tried to buy a new one from Walmart, the webcam, and it was messing up. And people said, change it. And I did, and it was solved the problem. I changed it back to this one. So I've had this for a long time now. Yeah, it's a little bit messed up. So Fear, you were saying? Fear's lagging. Tyrone, go back into. Oh, okay. I don't hear anybody. What just happened?
No, I was just saying.
Now I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back. You're back. Yeah. Fear, I don't know if you're still there.
Yeah, you went lagging for a second, but
I pulled up I'm here now. Like everything completely froze on me.
Don't worry, we got you covered. If you freeze, we'll talk for you. So we're looking at Tyrone's page, Rebirth of the Word.
Yep.
And you showed me a lot of stuff when we met the other day. We were at Cosmic Summit together, and you showed me the cuneiform book you use. And it's like, if you want to go into all these ancient languages and learn what their histories were, the books exist. The books are out there, right?
Yep.
What was that book you told me to read? The cuneiform one?
The Cuneiform Culture. It's the Oxford Handbook version. So it's the Oxford Handbook of Cuneiform Culture. That's the title. The Oxford Handbook of Cuneiform Culture.
That sounds like one that I just want to buy and get in my library.
Okay. So matter of fact, so what I do, and I'm glad you brought that up. So this is a series on my YouTube. It's called What I've Learned from Reading These Books, and it's basically every book that I've read at least 3 times, and I go over each one of those books. And this is what I mean by I go over each one of these books. Oh man, I don't have my other book with me, so because I could give you a good example, but I have one right here. I can pull up.
Yeah, I hate it when that happens. Yeah, I've been taking a look at your videos a little bit. They get a little bit too deep for me to get. Right now, I've been kind of busy with some stuff, but I'm going to go through them and hopefully start from scratch and make some new ones with you.
So this is like one of the books that I read right here. When I talk about religion, what I do is I go through each book has let me get the camera. You see all the tabs that's on there?
Show that. Hold on, show that. I'm going to share one too.
Yeah, so I have a lot of tabs that I go over, and what I basically do is on my YouTube channel, I go through each one of those tabs and I talk about what I've learned. I have an 1873 Bible. I go through the Homer and the Iliad and the Odyssey. You know, I go over the mystical city of God by Venerable Mary of Agreda. I mean, I just go through the Mahabharata and Eclipses Volume 1 and 2. I go through all these books and just share what I've read. And I think I'm only in, so I did 50 books so far. I think I have about, I don't even know how many books I have in total in my library and on my Kindle. But basically,
I want to give you this book. This is the what you just showed. Hold it up again. This looks like it almost had the same thing going.
Yeah.
This though, okay, so that one, the Bible charts, when you opened it, you showed a page and it looked very similar to this. And if you don't, I want to give this to you and have it in your library because this is too big for my life. Yeah. I got one of those. I love these things. But
I do too.
Tell me more about that one right there, because this one is definitely Bible related. Like, for example, it was done by a Christian company. And it's not that old, by the way. I thought it was old, but that one looks very interesting. What is that one?
Well, so basically it's a book that gives you all. And I actually did a video on it too. Let me see. Not too long ago, I did. See right here what I've learned from reading this book. I did it 11 months ago. It took me 56 minutes to do it. Is this one right here? Hold on. Let me bring it up. Share screen. It's so interesting you say that. So it's this one right here. Hopefully, it don't do a commercial. Yep. See, is that one right there?
Bible charts, maps, and timelines.
Yeah, and I basically go over all the tabs that's in the book that I have marked on there. There's a lot of tabs. Hold on, let me see. I'll make myself right here real quick. All those tabs, I basically just go over them, and I talk about what's important in it. So. Here, I just go over one tab real quick. I'll just go to a random tab. So let me just open one up. It didn't even open up straight to one. That's funny. Okay, so here, it tells you everything about the Noah's Ark. So this is a tab that I looked at. So this is something that I would talk about in that thing. But I just recently bought the Everything Bible, and the reason why I'm fascinated about the Bible is only because of the simple fact that I grew up in the Catholic Church, and then you got the Anuna / the Anunnaki, which comes from the Sumerians. Then you got the ancient Egyptian gods, and you got the Mesoamerican gods, and you got the Hindu gods, and all this other stuff. So I like to know about their culture and religion and all that stuff. So for me to understand those other cultures, I think I need to understand this one first because of the simple fact that I grew up with this, and that's why I talk a lot about the Sumerians.
I definitely think I have a lot to learn from you about the Sumerians. I was just thinking about, like we're saying, the cuneiform, and you keep saying that I got a lot more I want to bring up, like so much to talk about. Like, first of all, Cosmic Summit, you gave me a lot of photos. We were there together. It was a pretty awesome time. Will I go back? I did 2 panels there. Will I go back? I don't know. I have to wait for my what do you call it? My expense check to come back in. Hey, by the way, we were cutting Fear off, and I like to get it early on in a live stream on my channel. Fear, one more time. What do you do, and what do you want to promote?
Basically, I'm a jack of all trades, but I'm a history nerd, ordained. Like, I went through a whole period of where I was in the Institute I was going from pastoral ministries, and I was going to go do missionary work, go overseas, do the whole 9. But then during my research, I basically red-pilled myself because I've had questions that I've asked every single pastor, priest, whatever. I've gone through every fucking denomination that there is, just searching for that one true answer. And no one could give me a straight, honest opinion or anything, any knowledge. They're like, oh, well, you know what, I don't know. They either pass the buck along, or they respectfully say, hey, which I do appreciate, the ones that are honest with me say, I can't answer that, but I could give you a suggestion to go talk to this person. And I could appreciate that honesty, but not one was able to answer it. So I did my deep dive, got my red pilled, yeah, and it just unfolded from there. And that was about, I would say, 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, something like that.
That's about the same for me. It's about the same. 2018 really is the bigger dive, right, for me. And by the way, I was telling you earlier, I got some things to show you in North America that I believe are megalithic and maybe by giants. I don't know if I believe ancient humans did this anymore. I think that giants did it, but we can talk more about that in a bit.
I'm also a structural engineer. I'm a carpenter, a mason, and also a stonemason by hobby. And a
Freemason?
No, not a Freemason. I just do stones, like work with stones and chisels by myself as a hobby. So I'm not quite a geologist, but I just do it by hobby. I like it, anything to do with, but what I do is in the masonry, it's just like bricklaying, cement, all that stuff. Basic.
I want to learn more about masonry from you. I'm a carpenter my whole life, a framer. Also, I just learned how to do electricity. I don't want to try to show you, but this room, I just wired this whole room. And so now I can say I can do basic wiring for house. I'm really proud of myself. And so, yeah, like you said, polymath, me too. Totally. There's got to be a website for polymaths. And not just to fucking help us find work, but to help us figure out what the hell we want to do with our life. Because I got so many projects up in my head, and it's tough after a while. And this, my project here, all this wiring I'm doing, this is torture. I'm not feeling that accomplished these days. I'm feeling like I got to do another 4 or 5 months worth of hard work and money too. I just spent $400 yesterday on stuff. And I'm like, this is just going to go deeper and deeper. I should cut out now while I got the chance. So anyways, that's my polymath side. What about you, Fear? You said you're a polymath. Tell me more about that.
I'm more into I've always been able to do math. That's how because I've been building houses since I was a teenager. I've just been building shit. And in my 20s, I ran a framing crew down in Florida. And then when I went into the military, I went in for carpentry masonry. So I got certified in that as well. And I've just been doing and even growing up as a kid, I was ADHD. I was never able to sit still. So I was always constantly moving on to the next big project, the next big project, the next thing that caught my interest. And I excelled in all of them. So I played music, I played some shows, all that stuff. And so like I said, but polymath to me, it helps. The math part of it helps me in gent music, DJENT. And it's just, I'm a metal.
Say again, what? DJEMT, what?
DJEN as in Nancy T. It's just a genre of metal music. It's pronounced gent. And but it's basically it's complete math core and total offbeats and timings. It's just really great. Imagine this: take a ping pong ball, and throw it against the wall, and listen to the pattern that it plays, and every time that it hits the ground, and then come up with a beat right off that, with math and music.
Hey, Fear, sorry to lead away from you, but I got somebody asking. I don't know if you can see my stream. I don't think you can in your Streamlab. Oh, wait, I got to go to comments. Somebody asked, did Sumerian have some? You're in control. If you click on it, you can show the chat. But because of you, did Sumerian have something similar to the Day of the Dead? I'm very interested in that. Can you click on that and show that by clicking on it?
Yeah, I just see the
Guillermo, there you go. But don't leave it up there because you know how that goes.
Yeah. So, I need more information on the Day of the Dead.
Let me give you some information I got. I learned it from Randall Carlson. The Day of the Dead. First of all, that's very popular in many cultures.
Yeah,
Randall Carlson. I actually used Randall Carlson's his video or whatever on my. I used to teach in Taiwan, and I couldn't help myself. I was very interested. So there was basically some type of an impact coming from November 1st, October 31st, Halloween. That's our Day of the Dead in the USA. But they've also got the Day of the Dead in all over North America, South America. And they're all like November 1st. Cinco de Mayo, I think that's a little different. That's related to some Revolutionary War. But it's October, November. October, the end of October, the beginning of November, we're in that zone where what do they call the Taurides and the Pleiades, they look like they're coming directly from the constellation, but it's because we're part of this asteroid belt that we're passing through. And that seems to be when a cataclysm happened. Yeah. And the Day of the Dead, I think, is related. And Randall went over it pretty detailed. They're all over the world. So the Sumerian Day of the Dead, that would just be a day when there's a big cataclysm and everybody died. And maybe they're celebrating those dead. Go on.
No. They're so it's kind of hard to say that the Sumerians said it, because a lot of people get confused. The Sumerians, Akkadians, the Syrians, Hittites, and so forth, they all combine the stories and say that the Sumerians are the ones who came up with these stories because they are considered the people that have the first writing system. That is the consensus and the agreement upon most archaeologists and individuals who study the field of ancient history, is that the Sumerians are considered the oldest because of the writing system. Now, there's nothing in the Sumerian time frame, which I mean time frame is when the Akkadians took over the Sumerians in 2300 BC, 2334 BC, I believe it is, somewhere give or take. There's different dates for it. They became one. So it wasn't no longer the Sumerians, it was the Akkadians. The Sumerians fell under the Akkadians. Well, the Akkadians and the Sumerians do have similar writing system, right? Or at least the cuneiform. Well, what is interesting about the Sumerians is their writing system only started off as a pictographic script, and it was due to being used for like trading and stuff like that, right? Training amongst other people and different groups and so on. Now that when the Akkadians took over, of course, the writing system got more advanced, and it got more advanced to where we are at today. But the Akkadians are usually where you find most of like individuals who are considered like ghosts and stuff like that. But it's also, they talk about that stuff because of the simple fact of there was they believe that there was some type of event that happened that destroyed a whole city. And that's not just the Akkadians, it's the Babylonians that talk about it, and so on and so forth. And there's been research out there where they found certain types of evidence that shows that it could have been like some kind of radioactive attack or something like that. I don't know how accurate that is. I know that I've read articles and peer-reviewed articles about there's something that is not normal in certain places in Mesopotamia. Now, whatever the reason why that is, for that reason, there's so many different theories. So the Sumerians really never talked about events that happened. It wasn't until later on, like the Akkadians, Babylonians, and the Syrians, and so on and so forth.
I noticed that pretty much everybody you just mentioned is in Mesopotamia. Am I correct? Or is there somebody that's not in there?
Yeah, and that's why I say a lot of people just combine all that and give credit to the Sumerians, and not realizing that there's different cultures and different groups of people at that time, right? It's not I know it's playing, with fire when you say that, because if the Sumerians became under the rule of the Akkadians, they would still be considered Sumerian people. But if they never had records of it and they adapted the language and understanding of the Akkadians, then they adapted some information from somewhere else. And it's not the Sumerians that said it, it was the Akkadians, but because the Sumerians also have evidence for writing about stuff or similar stuff, it could be understood as so. It's the same thing with the story of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh's his tablets are found in the Assyrian time frame and not in the Sumerian time frame. So
let me ask you a question. You've been to Baghdad before?
Yep.
Yes. And is that where Sumer was, in Baghdad, or was Sumer closer to the Caspian Sea?
Well, depending on who you talk to, it was just in Iraq.
No, I'm talking to you. Here's the deal, because I know you've been doing the work. Yeah, I know you've been doing the work. So yeah, we don't know 100%, but what's your opinion here? It was Baghdad Sumer, or was Baghdad north of Sumer?
I think it was Baghdad, because I believe Saddam Hussein actually believed, I think he was Nebuchadnezzar, if I'm not mistaken, and Baghdad was his place. So, and if you ever been there, if anybody and everybody who's been to Baghdad, it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful place. So,
what about how do you pronounce it? Akkadians?
The Akkadians?
Akkadians, yes. Yeah, where was that? Was that
was
near
more,
Baghdad?
That was more north.
Okay, I'm looking at the map. North of Baghdad, I don't see anything I recognize. I mean, north of basically Baghdad is lots of small towns.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It was basic, because it's kind of hard to understand where these places were, because they have cities all over there, right? All the way from the south, all the way up to the north. And they can see different cultures from those cities. And they only certain people could read and write at that time frame. So they could only take information from the people who could read and write at that location. And that's how they sometimes determine if it's people on their class level and stuff like that.
If you were learned.
Yeah, I mean, they had schools there. They literally had
listen, I believe that this land had ancient history that's not part of history, right? Because it's not written down that we have access to. It may have been written, but I believe in pre-Atlantis. Fear, you showed us a book earlier before we started going live, and it's like that's where I kind of lose the gas. I don't really. It said Mu on the cover, and for me, Mu, that's beyond my. I can't compute at that point. And what dates are Mu is my main question tonight.
I don't know exactly the dates of Mu itself, because Mu is just like ancient, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let's put some numbers on the table real quick. Sorry to interrupt you. I'll just put some numbers on the table, and then I'm going to shut my mouth. Atlantis by Plato was 11,600 years ago. I like to think that before Atlantis went down, there was a pre-Atlantis, and then there was the beginning of Atlantis, and then there was a pre-Atlantis. So what is the date of Mu? Is it 30,000 years ago? Hopefully, yes. Then I can embrace it. But if it's like 5,000 years ago, I don't really have a lot of power to embrace that. Okay, I'll shut my mouth. Just go on.
But right now, I'm in a section of this book where it talks about Atlantis possibly being in Mexico. From the previous maps from the 1600s, the Sanson map that was created in 1661 by the French cartographer Nicholas Sanson. The map shows the Americas as the Atlantis Insula, all the way from North America to South America. And from previous maps and the concentric rings of other previous maps that also the Stanford University backs up, it just shows evidence. I mean, they are very, very large, especially in a peninsula, to be very huge. And it correlates in between like the Mayans, the Olmecs, the Aztecs, and we all know that stuff from ancient Egypt and even previous stuff's been discovered in the Grand Canyon. And there's multiple different temples that represent different religions that have been discovered in the Grand Canyon. So for it to be the true old world where it talks about in the commerce of 3 concentric rings of multi-nations, this would fit the bill back then, especially if the lands were known as Atlantic. So,
honestly, I get a little turned off when people
go over. It doesn't say about Mu.
Wait, so Mu for me is not near Mexico, and I'm looking at that map you're talking about, the Nicola Santo map. I believe I am. I do want to say one thing about California. I mean, there was supposed to have been a mistake. So every time people mention California was an island, but are you talking about the Atlantis side or the Pacific side? And okay,
the Atlantis
I think of Mu. Okay, so yeah, then the Gulf of Mexico and Cuba, I do believe that had to be connected to, I don't want to say pre-Atlantis, just to block out Atlantis, honestly. When was the beginning of Atlantis? You know? And I know the story well. We've got the end of Atlantis was 13,000, 11,000, 12,000 years ago, whatever. But when was the beginning? And I believe that whenever that beginning was, the part that we know from Plato, it was a lot earlier than that, and it was the whole globe, for sure. I call that pre-Atlantis. And Mu, I think, is in my brain is pre-Atlantis.
If you there's two other references. If you look at the Hunt Lennox globe, the 1510 version, it refers to the lands as Atlantis or Atlantis Island and the Atlantans. But also you have the 1607 map at the Atlantic world, or of the Atlantic world. It's taken at Jamestown Visitor Center. And it's a huge wall mural, complete.
I'd like to look that up. Can you tell me more? Say one more time what that is. The Jamestown Visitor Center, Atlantis?
The map of Atlantic world, Atlantis, at Jamestown Visitor Center.
Let's try the Jamestown. I don't think I found it. Keep going.
Hang on.
Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, it's just different map references and the story behind it. Because before that, I was reading, it was talking about the Mayan civilization, the Indians, where they all went to, from like the Olmecs, being from here and not from Africa, because there's no Olmec heads been found over there, like any archaeological digs. So there's like no proof of reference they were there in the first place, but they're so. But that's what this was talking about right before that, this book.
Can you show that cover one more time?
Sure. It's part of a 4-book series.
America is the true old world, Mu, discovered. What are the pictures at the bottom? The Grand Canyon. Oh, I know those. I know that. Okay, you got the Cheops Pyramid, the Isis Temple, and the Shiva Temple. Yeah, actually, believe it or not, that gentleman. Okay, you thank you. That gentleman named Crypto Alchemist. He was the one that showed me those first, and he just popped in and gave it a share or whatever. He hit that like button. We definitely got to get him back in. He was talking all about that, and I can't believe it. Can I share? I want to set it up, so I don't have to share right away, but I want to share a couple things that I've found in that area. I believe it's because of the Colorado River. Yes. Those are right next to the Colorado River. Go ahead. Yep. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was saying, yeah, whatever you want to share, just bring it up. And
let me get it going first. Let me get it going. I don't want to waste your time showing you a bunch of, because I'll get distracted if I start showing other stuff, and then I'm gonna lose. I want to show you those specific pictures. Go on.
You asked Fear already to talk about what he learned from that book. Let me for our audience, for me and Fear's audience, that when we do this every weekend, tell them about what you do. Like, what is your what is it that
Who, me?
Yeah, you tell them what you do, because I know most people know who you are and know what you do, but why are you the man? Why do you tell them why I say yes?
I got some money and I did what I wanted to do. I don't believe in the mainstream media bullshit now. And by the way, I just lost 35 pounds. So I'm trying to keep that off by following a certain philosophy. Dr. Gundry, you were talking about your cookbook, Fear. You're doing your cookbook. I didn't want to take it to this level yet, but I do think that, first of all, society, living in the United States, living in this globe right now, we've been, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically trained by TV, mass media, and the pressure. By the way, education, the fact that you have to learn, you have to have an education. You can't get out of going to school. You aren't free to not go to school in America as a child, as somebody under 16. You're not free. You have to go to school. And then when it comes to getting that job and making that money, you have to have that GED or that high school diploma. And I just believe it's a big, I'm looking at like Big Brother and shit. We're talking, things have been covered up. I used to think it was just old stuff that I look at, but now I'm looking at just a few hundred years ago, Tartaria, the fact that we don't know who the hell built the California State Capitol building. I'm not a flat earther, trust me. And I'm not, I don't give a shit about mud floods. I don't care. Yeah, maybe there were some mud floods, but I do care about covered up history. And I'm seeing it happening over and over again. We're being enslaved. We're being trained to be credit debtors. America, we got it lucky because at least we have nice toilet paper to buy and put on our credit cards. And eating in general, the fact that we're eating these fucking seed oils, things that we would never eat, except industries have used their byproducts. They got to get rid of them somehow. So now we're consuming them. And now I've got plastic in my testicles. I'm about to show that live. Hold on. Hold on. Get ready. So this is where I am today as far as, I eat what Dr. Gundry says, Yeah. And yeah, I buy plastic, man. I got a fucking collection of plastic bags that will impress you. I got this big freaking ball of plastic bags. But I'm going to use those someday. I'm a hoarder. I was raised that you don't throw shit away, you fix it. But now everything's built to be replaced in a year. And you get your lifestyle in 10 minutes by Temu, and then suddenly you've got shit that's not going to last. You can't resell this shit. I used to think, I'm going to collect these tools, and I got tools, man, and I'm going to sell these tools,
But Joe, it keeps freezing on my end.
This is $20. Fear. Tell me about your power tool collection. Tell me all about it. I got Ryobi. I'm doing Ryobi because it's Home Depot. But that's where I am. You were being a polymath. You got to have I got an impressive Ryobi collection right now, for sure. But taking it back, So I'm a tormented soul. I was living in Taiwan in 2018 when we started doing this, and like when Jimmy pointed out the Herodotus connection and the castle, the place I went first. I was so mad at Graham Langdon. I'm like, what did you didn't go to the castle? It was right freaking there. And I trolled him. And I said it live that don't be a troll. Don't be a troll. But okay, so I'll keep talking about myself. But what was I getting ready? I was going to show you something. And now I totally got distracted. You got me, man. You got me. I got distracted. What was I going to show you? Fear. He distracted me. What was I going to show you guys just now before I totally forgot. Oh, Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon. Yeah, I'm going to find the Grand Canyon. Fear, you got to see this. So I'm going to find it real quick. And then I believe that this whole earth is covered by quarries, canals, and the Grand Canyon shows something. I'm just trying to find the slide. Why? What the fuck? It's gone.
Oh, fear of lagging.
Pardon my French.
No, it's okay. This is an open conversation.
Well, my channel's connected to the Mormon Church, so
stuff.
Okay, I found it. Okay, I'm gonna scroll up to a relevant point. I'm gonna show you a bunch of stuff. Other possible global quarries. Actually, I want to go back up to my quarries. Graham Langdon, I just told you he didn't go to the castle. I was stuck in Taiwan. I didn't have money because COVID hadn't happened yet, but I was doing 2 part-time jobs. And then COVID happened like literally a year after Jimmy came out with his first Richat structure video. That video blew my mind, and the castle blew my mind.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I like Jimmy's work. I just know that sometimes he exaggerates things for views, and I would tell him that because it's so funny, some of the stuff that he does, and he's a veteran, so I know he'll be able to take it without being emotional about what it is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know if he's in the military, so I know he thick skins. But what I'm just saying is I know that he exaggerates things, and it's so funny because everybody. What I've learned through this, when we talked about this earlier about how much money it takes to promote yourself like that, it takes money to make money type thing. I know that you have to have entertainment for people to take it serious, and he does it in a way that I find very entertaining. I always tell people I grew up watching the Jerry Springer show, so I think a lot of stuff is entertaining, especially when people get in the comments and they start getting all rowdy and stuff like that. I find that entertaining, because I can have a legit great conversation with somebody if they show me that they want to have a serious conversation. Now, if you want to, play the alpha beta roles, and we can play those roles too. I'm just that type of person where I adapt to my environment. So I don't comments. Where are the comments? They're all up there.
That's not for you, bro. That's not for you. Keep talking. Oh, okay, I was just I distracted you. Okay, let me share my screen. I'll show you a couple things, and then I'll stop sharing it. Yeah, I agree with you, but also I know how he did what he did. I do believe because he's kind of still younger looking. And by the way, look at him now. He's a little older. Sorry, Jimmy, if you're listening. He's looked a little older. I don't want to get into too much detail about face fat because I got a lot, and I actually just lost some weight, and I want to show that. But I do believe he stopped drinking, and he still doesn't drink. He told. By the way, I talked to Jimmy for about a half hour just a few days ago, so I got Jimmy's ear. I don't want to brag, but yeah, and Jimmy was
congratulations for him for the drinking part. That's congratulations.
Yeah, I can't believe, and I don't do it. I got something right here. I have to have a drink. First of all, here in the desert, when you're working outside in the sun, about noon, when you're really sweating, the brow is fucking bleeding sweat. That beer makes a world of difference. It's medicine, and that's why I can't stop doing that. Now the 12-pack, that's a different story. 6-pack's probably good for a day, I think. If you can drink 6 beers and not the heavy ones, I'm done with that shit. Okay, but back to Jimmy. So you shared it. Thank you. This is the castle, and Jimmy talked about it in 2018. I went there. Let me go back. Okay, so I'll just show you the very beginning of my little Cosmic Summit presentation because everybody wants it. Everybody's talking about it.
Well, let's get it right here.
But I'm going to go straight to that quarry in the Grand Canyon. Trust me, we're going to do a few shots, a few slides. This one right here, 94 miles of a 50-foot wide rotor canal in the Sahara Desert. I think that's probably my best number right there. And I do a lot of Google Earthing, and that's in the Sahara Desert. So there's a lot of stuff in the Sahara Desert. That serpentine is in Tassil Najer. I think that's a real, what do you call it? Smoking gun.
That look like a serpent.
I call it, well, I say serpentine because of the shape, but yeah, I don't know why it's there. We can talk more about that later, but I want to get into what Fear was talking about in a second. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on my history. We can talk about that again later. You said who's Stig, but I've talked about that so much. But the castle, I had to figure that shit out. I thought when I got there, I was going to see megalithic walls, and I didn't. They were just piles of stone. So that kind of broke my heart. Yeah, that's it right there. I kind of had my heart broken a little bit when I saw that. I'm like, this wasn't Atlantis. That's modern day right there. He also connected the Herodotus map, connecting the Atlantis tribe to the Atlas Mountains. We can talk more about that later. I went there. But I want to show you. Okay, wait. We're going to, I don't want to show everything here. I got plenty of shit to show you. Fuck. But nobody fucking listening.
Nah, we
By
listening.
the way, that's my biggest problem. You are. Thank you. By the way, Cosmic Summit, you are one of my best Cosmic Summit connections. But you were there. You saw how I was cut off. You saw how that all got cut off. So let me just do this. This is basically going to answer Fear's question, or it's not a question, but Fear, you know, Randall Carlson, he talked about Atlantis. He talked about in 2020, in January 2020. Do you think that was on purpose? He did this video called Episode 9, Atlantis Mystery, and he said okay, I'll do it. The outcrops in this structure were being quarried by somebody hundreds and thousands of years ago. There's other stuff in this picture that's important, but we'll just go with what he was saying. Later, he said 1.2 million years ago. Now, he just did a video last week, said humans are 200,000 years old. So why is he saying...
Well, that's actually incorrect, and I actually commented on it.
300,000.
Yeah, it's 300,000.
Yeah, it's a million now. 300,000, that's the Philippines, right?
No, that's in Morocco, Africa.
That's Morocco, okay.
Yeah.
300,000 in Morocco.
But they did a new peer review, updated peer reviewed article that actually found the ones on the East Coast near Ethiopia. Remember the one that used to say 200,000 years? It actually went up to, I believe 233,000. So that 200,000 mark is actually incorrect based off of new information. And now I talk about this in my book, and also this is a good time to promote my book Journey Through the Origins of History, which
take over the screen. Show it big on my channel. Show the screen. Show you big.
All right.
I'm gonna get another drink, so you do it big.
Yeah, so bestseller Journey Through the Origins of History. I actually talk about Homo sapiens. So what the idea is that Homo sapiens go back to somewhere around near Ethiopia around 200,000 years ago. That was the old information. New one is about 233,000. But they say the Homos, now this is where it gets confusing. They call us modern humans Homo sapiens sapiens. The extra sapiens part is the identifier for being advanced of our kind, I guess, or species. But they said that they found bones in Morocco, Africa, that goes back to 300,000 years ago, plus or minus, of course. And a lot of people believe at one time, a lot of older gentlemen or people in general who follows believe that it's 200,000 years. Now, what's different about the Homo sapiens and Homo sapiens sapiens is the ones that are found in Morocco, Africa, they say that their skulls are more elongated. It's not elongated like the Peruvian skulls and stuff like that, but they say they are elongated, and they consider them Homo sapiens. But our species, Homo sapiens sapiens, the term Homo sapiens still applies to us. They're just, in some cases, some people don't accept the extra sapiens part, and that's where it gets confusing. So in reality, just to make it simple and short, the oldest Homo sapien bones that they found here on planet Earth goes back to Morocco, Africa. And that's basically the consensus. And that's what's very interesting.
Saw an article out there talking about 1 million years old. What about that 1 million year old one?
Well, we know that mankind, humanity, however you want to call it, the idea of being a human in some people's eyes is the consideration of what is called bipedalism, which is basically walking on your two legs. That is what is the consensus of what made us walk upright, and the idea that we're separated from the other what they call quote unquote ape-like species and stuff like that. You know, the whole idea about Darwin and so on and so forth. But this is where it gets interesting, is that what is so Australopithecus ramidus is the first species that started to slowly adapt bipedalism. Then Australopithecus afarensis, which is Lucy, named of the bones that they found in Ethiopia, that they consider the species that started walking upright on both legs at a normal day-to-day routine through their environment. And then later on, you got the other species, which of course, most people know about, the Homo erectus, the Cro-Magnon, and the Neanderthals, and so on and so forth. And now,
yeah, we tried to go all over that, and I didn't have a chance. Everything we went over, I'm sorry, I never had a chance to speak about it. I don't know if you saw that, but I tried.
It just gets confusing because everybody has their theories.
The notes are right here. The notes are fucking right here. Hold on. Wait, let me see. No? Okay, I don't have the notes right here. I lied. But I know that those notes I took down that day when we were having that conversation. I tried to integrate that into my... It never had a chance.
And see, and that's one of the things that I want to know, what randos say, knowing that they consider Homo sapiens going back 300 years.
Okay, let me just say this about Randall right now. And I used to not want to say this out loud, but it's going to happen right now. And by the way, that Randall slide is still up in my face. He is a deflector. He is a Knight of the Templar, right? He's a Freemason. And so that he deflects. So it's like, let's take another look at the Missoula floodplains. Really? Again? The Missoula floodplains? That's the most boring topic in the world. I know how the freaking ice sheets melted. I don't need to go to Missoula. I want to know about Atlantis, brother. But he doesn't want to tell us. He knows. He knows already.
I have a book, and I don't have it with me right now because I was reading it in the bedroom. I have a book from Albert Pike. It's called Morals and Dogma. It's basically about all the degrees in Freemasonry. And I heard about that book. Yeah. I have a lot of tabs. I'm actually going to make a series on that book by itself because I have so many tabs on there. But it's interesting in that book that they do talk about what would be understood as being a good person, however you want to look at it. And then they also talk about how there are certain secrets that need to be upheld. So my thing is this. I understand people like fame. I understand people like to feel like they're right. I understand that people like to feel like their narrative can't be changed. But that's why I asked, when I seen Randall Carson put that video up in that discussion about 200,000 years ago, everything changes when we get new information, which pushes that date back. So that makes me wonder, what in your research from that, what will change? Because if you still believe the same thing that you believe that off of old information, do you really want to know the truth? And and I'm not saying this about Randall Carson. He doesn't. I'm not well known enough for him to answer my question. Let's make that clear. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't. He gets so many messages that mine will slip through the cracks. But hopefully, maybe
let me just interrupt really quick to say, I asked him this question. I said, "What was your source? Where did that information come from?" He forgot. He can't remember. So we're still at it. We're SOL, SOOL, right? Shit out of luck. Don't say SOL. There's two O's.
I ain't never heard it like that before. But yeah, it's just that. And I'll give you an example. I know a guy named Bruce Fenton. He spends a lot of time in X spaces, He actually wrote a book called Into the Theory of Africa. And basically, instead of Africa, people coming out of Africa, he's saying people came into Africa, which I've heard both theories and understood both sides of it. But in his book, and I'll bring it up in his book, it's interesting because let me see if I could pull it up real quick. He says in so many ways that there's no ancestors before the time frame of I want to say about 200,000 years ago. I think he actually says 195,000. I want to pull up exactly what it says, so that way I don't get it mixed up. I just have to look through the reviews or the.
Look, we're none of us are 100% sure. We don't have 100% perfection, so don't feel too obligated to get things perfect with me. I mean, obviously, I like sources. I like to know where you got the information from.
Yeah.
And if you're like, oh, it was Atlantis, man, that fucking Antarctica, Atlantis, and you just you making it up? Okay, now I don't respect you as much. But if you just, I saw it, I read it, it said this, you don't have to pull the source up. For me. No, yeah, maybe later when we do the peer-reviewed paper. But go on.
No, it's just for me, it's like something that's within me that says, hey, I have to show you, because I'm not trying to tell you to believe what I believe. I'm just trying to tell you, what the facts are based off of what the information out there. If you said that you have the facts, and I show you that your facts may be wrong because of the simple fact, if you look at the actual source that you say that you probably got it from, then where do we go from there? And that's what I like to do, is I like to show people, hey, this is where I've actually learned it from. This is actually where I've read it from. And I'm just trying to give you the information based off of what I've researched, because I already know what you know, and I can tell you that's incorrect because there's nothing out there that backs that up, basically.
Hey, let me show you this part that I was trying to get to for fear real quick. I just want to make sure before I go on, it's actually down on slide. Okay. See, I keep doing this. Let me just go through these now. Fear. I'm going to show you 3 slides that I found of the Grand Canyon, and that book has those. That's a little different. I believe what I found is a little different. I basically believe in quarries. I believe in canals. I believe in things I can find on Google Earth. And so when he said this, I went to, that's something in the paper that he had on that day that he was showing. That's not a damn hunter-gatherer trying to get an arrowhead. That's a freaking big old block of stone that's being, they say, faceted. So I went to the Richat structure quarry field, and this is probably where this Roman road was found. This picture was given to me by a guy that passed away. I may be able to follow up and find out where this is. But the question is, and Graham Langdon, who was there at Cosmic Summit, you met him, right, Tyrone?
Yep, sure did.
And this cache of Paleolithic hand axe heads basically is out of I feel like it's a setup. Like they're deflecting. Why are there 10,000 hand axe heads just sitting there in the middle of the desert next to this quarry? And yeah, those are a question. They're Paleolithic. They're something that hunter-gatherers used. Last I checked, a hunter-gatherer didn't carry around 10,000 of them. Why is there a big pile of them there in the desert? There's got to be a reason for that. I think that what it is a deflection in a way. That's the quarry that I want to visit near the Richat structure. Now, I'm getting there, Fear. I promise. I won't stop. But this quarry, to me, is more megalithic than just Paleolithic. I don't believe those hand axe heads created those lines. I believe there's some kind of a different quarrying going on. And that's the place I wanted to go. I call that the Giants Quarry. I want to change that name. But the fact that those stones are big, like the one I showed you, it, to me, says some kind of quarrying was going on. This is all in the same spot. And to me, it's a little more deliberate than random water and wind erosion. Okay. And other possible quarries show this. Here, just north a little bit in Algeria, very close to the Richat structure, there's these 3 different sets of parallel lines cut through these mounds. I don't believe that's natural erosion. Here's a harder to see version of it. Again, they need to do deeper scans, but again, you see triangles. That's 3 sets of lines. Machines like this could have been used to do that. Maybe lasers. Tassil Najer, that's not Tassil Najer. I already showed that. There's that serpentine right there. That's like 7 miles long as the crow flies. Probably if you follow the rocks, it's like So I'm into this type of stuff. Tassil Najir National Park. This was Atlantis. This was quarrying. Look at those angles. I get a little deeper about that, but I'm showing them just here because I'm trying to get. Okay, so this is Libya. I call that the Matrix because in Planetary Valley, yeah, I looked that up, by the way. I looked that up. It's right here. I'm going to put it in the chat. Where was that? I don't want to waste people's time. Did I get it in there? No. Paste. Let's try. Yep, there it is. No, it's too many words. Whatever you were just showing, it's a genus of a giant ape that lived in parts of Asia. So we can forget about that for now. Let's keep going. Yeah, what happened? Oh, I'm showing that now? I'm sorry about that. I want to get back here. So the slideshow is basically stuff that's going on in the Sahara Desert that just doesn't freaking belong. These are so-called concretions, the ones that you can stand next to, they're concretions, but something's going on megalithic here. I mean, that's freaking big.
And that's in Libya. Yeah, that's in Libya.
How did you know that? I showed you? Yeah, it's in Libya. I think it has something to do with this slag that comes out.
Look. I was just about to say that. Go back to that. That literally looks like where the welding is at.
Yeah, that's welding slag, in my opinion. Planetary Valley has a bunch of stuff you can go to in Libya. It's right next to the border of Algeria. So I put the slag in there just to show that. But come on, look at that sphere, man. That is beautiful. I don't know. That came up in a map.
That's in Libya? That's in
okay,
Libya.
Let me just be honest about this. I was doing Google Earth photo and I found that, and then suddenly it disappeared.
No, I believe you, and I'll tell you why. Because me and Fear did an episode on Antarctica one time, and it was like one of our first episodes trying to learn how to get into this stuff and all that stuff like that. And we took pictures and screenshots, and we did a video on Antarctica. And I marked most of those places, or all of them, I should say. I marked all those places for that was important parts of it. And I can tell you from personal experience, they do delete stuff from Google Earth. It might be because we was in the headquarters building in their what looks like to be a tactical operations center. It had computers, it had phone books, it had maps, it had everything, and I marked it. When I went back to go look for it, it's no longer there.
You can't mark stuff, bro. You got to save that on your hard drive or it's gone forever.
I learned that the hard way. What I started doing is shrinks. Well, hopefully they don't shut my computer down after this, but I do screen record stuff now because it's important because I was like, man, why in the hell did they delete this? I can never find it. I still have the map, but I can't. Hey, I need to get me a new drone, bro. I lost my drone yesterday. My drone.
Okay, I'll give you a drone. I got a drone. I'll send it to you. I don't like drones. You can have mine. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah, and this book, I don't need big books like this. So this would be perfect on your freaking library. By the way, I did want to show you, I got this book, America Before. We're talking about this subject, fear. Right now, I'm going to show you what I showed because I don't want to get away from it. Those Grand Canyon images right here. This is Utah. That's Utah. And I believe that was strip mining. And it's a kind of a special kind of placer strip mining that occurred 1 million years ago along the Grand Canyon, along the Colorado River. Not Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, that's not Grand Canyon. That's the Arches National Park. I can show you where that is. And it's like, how do those straight lines occur in nature? I don't believe that it's that easy. A sandstone or limestone has this, embedded pattern that erodes away from wind and erosion. No, I don't think so at all. So I believe that was ancient cuts. Grand Canyon, this one is my least favorite, but it's definitely straight lines. You have two sets creating rectangles. So over here in the Grand Canyon, you don't have that one I showed you earlier that creates triangles. But the straight lines here are very, to me, come on. Are you going to tell me that's really natural right there? Fear, what do you think so far? Here's the last one. There's other ones. That's Utah. That's actually Arizona. But what do you think of that? Fear, that right there. to me says something was going on, and it's not the very top. It's halfway down. They don't do the very top. They did that halfway down. So all that erosion didn't happen on the top where the wind is. All that erosion happened halfway down. That one is my favorite. This one is my second favorite. What do you think, Fear? Do you think that looks like some kind of quarrying cuts, or is that natural and you can't make a comment?
I think you're muted, bro. Yeah, you're muted. I see your lips, but you're muted.
Start from the beginning. Look, my farts are loud, but
nature grows in straight lines.
Go ahead, Fear.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You were right. You were right. Nothing in nature grows in straight lines, and that you can't say straight. It's kind of chaotic, but in my opinion, it shows a essence of straightness.
Well, nothing in nature grows in straight lines except for the form of crystals, quartz crystals underground. They're compressed so much that they grow in straight lines. Those the only thing that nature produces in straight lines. Other than that, you're going to basically be standing on shale, but you can just break that shit with a hammer. It just grows in layered forms. So it's going to look like a straight line, but it's not exactly a straight line, not like crystal would be. But
yeah, they call it,
that looks like
they
some
call
type
it jointing.
Yeah,
they call it jointing in
like,
mainstream.
and with those straight lines, with those hash marks.
It's lagging, Fear. You're gonna have to keep going, bro. You're gonna have to keep going. You're lagging.
I'm sorry, I keep talking over you. You don't stop when you hear me. Don't stop, please.
That's what I was telling you. Don't stop.
That's
going.
I can't overtake the audio. Because my system lags because both y'all got live streams and it's like really streaming, like hitting down on the bandwidth, and I'm like barely keeping on, and like everything is freezing. So like I have to listen to y'all on the audio, and like I have to wait for that perfect opportune moment, and no one fucking talk after.
Sorry that I keep interrupting you.
No, you just got to keep going, bro. That's why I see you. Once you start talking, just keep going, and it'll keep going because you're lagging on our end. So just keep it.
You
flowing,
keep
bro. Talking,
and I'm going to go through these slides while you talk. These slides, and I'm going to go back a little bit. I feel that North America has a lot of this mining going on. The Grand Canyon in Utah, Arizona.
Yo, you got Memphis, Tennessee. You know, you have pyramids all over America. We have more pyramids on our side of the globe than we do in the rest of the fucking world. Did you know that?
Yeah. No, that's not true because Sudan has more pyramids. Actually, Sudan has more pyramids. They had like thousands and thousands of pyramids.
I heard that there's some under the sand.
No, I mean
in
in total,
Egypt,
like from all the way up. Like actual mapped ones from like Canada all the way down to like literally from Alaska, from Canada all the way down to fucking tip of South America. Like we have side than the rest of the globe. More pyramids over there, like in that area, but we have more that like have been documented over here. Like back from like Mesoamerica all the way up to like our basically 5-sided pyramids. Like, you know, you got your base and 4 sides. Well, technically 8 because they're all inset walls.
I'm gonna look that up real quick.
check out Pillars of the Past. The guy we were in Cosmic Summit. That guy is out there finding. I wouldn't call them pyramids, but mounds.
So I got his card. I got his card. I'm actually gonna talk to him about it. So yeah, I was gonna bring him up.
You better talk fast because he's in talks with 2 different people right now. I witnessed it for myself.
So the amount of pyramids that we have in America, in the Americas, totals about 1,000 plus. They have thousands and thousands of pyramids in Africa alone, but they have thousands in Sudan by itself. So actually, Africa still has the oldest, the most amount of pyramids. I thought I figured that because I always say this. If you look at Sudan, Sudan looks like a place where they tested students to build pyramids. And I say that because if you look at it, they're small. Whenever you do something, you do it in a small miniature format first. Like when you're building a building, you build a building based off of a small scale and that you can put in probably like your garage or a room, right? Well, this is no different than pyramids because Sudan has a lot of, let me see how many in total do they have? Because I've read thousands from books that I've read.
Tony Apsu says Africa definitely has the most. Tony Apsu, the ancient world reimagined. Mound aren't pyramids.
Yeah. So actually, Sudan has somewhere around 200 and 255, and that's but that's because they're having more excavations. I guess the number is in the thousands because they have places that haven't been excavated yet, and I think that's where the actual number comes from. But I also know that just like you said, the guy that said right here, I'll bring it up. This guy right here, Tony Apsu, Africa definitely has the most. And I say that because of the simple fact that if you look at the continent of Africa, they definitely have pyramids all over the place. Most people only focus on Egypt. That's the problem. They only focus on Egypt. They don't focus on.
We
Sudan.
know China has pyramids, right? China
Yeah,
definitely has them.
Yeah.
And the stuff I've seen in the USA, I can't really say are pyramids, but now we're finding out stuff's been buried. Now we're finding out stuff's even in Egypt, apparently there's buried pyramids. I just heard this today. Have you heard about these buried pyramids in Egypt?
Yeah, I've heard about them.
So where are they, and what's going on there?
That in the labyrinth.
Yeah, that in the labyrinth. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of these stories are stories that are told from people that never had visited these sites, and that they get it from different things. So let me ask you, Fear. That's a good thing that you brought up. What is your best source for the labyrinth, and why do you believe that there is actually a labyrinth?
That's for Fear, not me. He said labyrinth.
About 8 years ago, or about 7-8 years ago, I read an article online, I'm sorry, forget that number on the year. Like my brain's scatterfuck right now. But I read an article, and it was reference to an archaeological investigation researcher, reporter type guy, and during an excavation, he actually found it and presented the evidence, and then it just got washed away. But there is record that of him being there. I forget his name, but it had he looks Middle Eastern, but had a French type name. Anyways, but yeah, he wasn't allowed back there.
Well, I can tell you from my personal experience.
But that's as far as the article went. But he said that he found the labyrinth and presented his evidence. And then back then it was Hawass, I believe.
Yeah, he just said that. The guy in the comment just said Hawass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just seen that. Yep, I just seen it. Yeah, but see, this is the thing. That the reason why I asked you for your best source is because I know what source has that person read, because most people know about Homer's book Iliad and Odyssey. Well, in Iliad, it actually, and I brought it up on it mentions a dancing floor like Daedalus, and it's the earliest representation of labyrinth. But you also, if you ever read anything from Plutarch or Virgil or even Diodorus Siculus, that's one of the most famous ones that most people know. He talks about the early Mennonian civilization and stuff like that. So that's why I asked you what is your best source, because reading those books, you'll probably get a better understanding of it. I know Plato. He's known as somebody who may have exaggerated. They just don't know how much. That's why Atlantis is such a mystery, because he also, not Plato, Homer exaggerated. I'm not talking about Plato. Homer exaggerated a little bit because but a lot of the stuff that he did write about was accurate. So it was more like, I want to say entertainment for and I like to compare it to what is known as when you watch movies and they're based on a true story. You know, we know that the movie's based on a true story, but every event in that story may not be true and accurate, right? It could be things that could be added and exaggerated and so on and so forth. So I highly recommend, if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend you get the book Homer and see what he reads about or writes about in his book in the Labyrinth.
He's the oldest Greek philosopher that I know that's written anything. I mean, I did the timeline, and Homer's way, way before anybody.
Well, you know, you got Plutarch, you got Diodorus Siculus, who kind of in some ways mention it in their own ways, but Homer is definitely the one that you want to go to on it, because it literally says possibly the earliest Labyrinth reference.
Gotcha.
Possibly.
So in a nutshell, what's the Labyrinth again? Because I got lost.
Go ahead, Fair.
Well, one sentence, you know.
It's basically underground tunnels. In a nutshell, underground tunnels underneath the desert. In a nutshell.
I think we have that. Yeah, I think that's everywhere. I believe that's everywhere.
Yeah, if you look at Turkey,
to me, I believe that it was a representation of the underworld, being lost in the underworld. If you knew the direct passage you could get through. Like old stories, basically, but I believe it was in like reference to that. But there is known to be, or from the stories, but in the article that I read, that they exist.
Yeah,
I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was just mythological stories from the Greek people or whatnot, being all fancy with their shit. But this person came out, said that they found it. They presented the stuff that like they were supposed to things, and then it got black flag right there.
There's so many channels I follow that show stuff. Check out My Lunch Break. He shows tunnels on all his videos. He's talking about tunnels, and it seems like every major city had a matrix of tunnels going underground. And we're talking in America. We're talking about everywhere. And this that's one guy. Then there was this other channel I was looking at. The tunnels are, I mean, it seems like it's part of the old world style. And what did that guy just say in the comment? Guillermo, I think pyramids are a building style of the old world. No, Homer was definitely before Herodotus.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
Yeah, I got a nice timeline that I created because I wanted to know who came first, right? Homer was way in the back. I'm going to pull that up right here. I got it right here.
You know, it's interesting that he brought up that question because Herodotus is known as the father of history. Literally the first historian that
But he was literally right before Plato. Let me find that timeline and I'll double check. But he was like, Plato was a child when Herodotus wrote that and was an adult. Let's see here. Where is it? Right here. Yeah, Herodotus. He was born 400, and let me just see if I can zoom in on that. Okay, here we go. Yeah, 484 BC, died 430. Here, let me share this. Just because I created this timeline. Herodotus born 484. And as you can see, let's see if I can I can't. Okay, I don't want to do it that way.
You gotta send me that. You have to send me a copy of that. You've got to.
So let me just show you this. This is easy peasy and no problem. Here, I'll show you how to get it. Hold on. What's that? Slide 52? We'll go back there in a second. Go to this presentation. Okay, let me zoom out. Go to this presentation right here. Yeah, because that slide alone took me years to develop.
Hold on, let me type that in.
It's tinyurl.com/Stig SC for Cosmic Summit 2025.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. And then you scroll down to slide 56 right here. You can see Homer. I put him over there, but actually, honestly, he shouldn't be right there. He should be even farther to the left, way before Solon. The story of the Atlantis telephone story is right here to Plato. And then over here on the left, you can see Socrates, Aristotle, and Herodotus. As you can see, Herodotus was a lifetime before Plato. When Plato was born, Herodotus was done. And Socrates was almost done. He was already an adult, right? Aristotle wasn't even born yet. So I like the Socratic method. Who dat? What do you say? The underground structures beneath the gear. Okay, so first of all, crack shot 32.2. Underground structures beneath the Giza pyramids confirms it was part of Atlantis in your opinion. Okay, look, I hear you, but we don't have enough information. We need more information. I can't make a declaration like you just did from what you said. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me. Somebody's in there. Who's that lizard? All right. So anyway, so I don't have to keep showing this, but this slide right here took me a while to figure out. I'm going back. I'm sorry. I can't control it. So I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out. There we go. Stop sharing. But before I stop sharing, check out the lizard.
You gotta show your military. You got to show your military uniform, bro. You got to go to slide 9 and show your representation, bro. You just have.
But you are the iguana. You are the anonymous iguana, aren't you?
Look at number 9.
Here we go. Look, let's go to number 9. So I showed that. I showed the serpentine, my links, my website, and then I talked about my history. Well, when I was 2, my mother shoved me in the mouth of Quetzalcoatl at the Quetzalcoatl temple. You think I was going to get in there on my own? She made me go in there. And then she took me here in 1977, but we lost the photo. So I had that created. Why is that showing? Hide. Why is that even showing? So dumb. I went to Guatemala in 1986 and started learning Spanish. And there we are, my military uniform.
There you go.
I graduated from DLI. I learned Chinese. Look at my eyes. Let's zoom in on my eyes. Look how Chinesey they look. So I learned Chinese, cool. And then I the language thing was the only reason why I joined. That's why I feel a little guilty. Then I went to Taiwan. I was 100 miles from Yonaguni in Taipei. Yonaguni is right there. That's where Graham Hancock did his book on Underworld, right? A lot of people have been talking about Underworld. And I do have my copy of Graham Hancock America Before right here. But the one book that triggered me so much was Underworld. And the reason why was because it was literally in Taiwan. He went to Taiwan. I'm like, I'm right here, babe. So I went to Cambodia a couple times. That was before any of this. And then I was still ignorant. And one thing that got my attention was these lathed balustrades in Cambodia. Let's go back. So I did move to Taiwan, but because when you live in Taiwan, you got to do visa runs. I went to Cambodia in 97, and that was the beginning. I still was ignorant. In 2004, still ignorant, believe it or not. And then I saw these things. I'm like, that's stone right there. Yeah. That's stone. You can't lathe stone unless you can. I don't know. 15 years ago, I discovered that was way before 15 years ago. That was like 15 years ago is 2009. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was doing the Google Earth. So yeah, that we talked about this already. So there we go. So yeah, I try to keep it short, but the beginning did start. I wanted to be international, and the big question I had teaching international trade was, when was the first international trade in history? When was it?
You know, the trade. That's what I was. That's why I was talking about the many different locations earlier about what they consider Sumer, Babylon, Akkadian, and so on and so forth, because it had to do with trading. The Sumerians didn't consider one place a location, and usually had to do with agriculture, where their agricultural needs were met the most. That's why it's hard for me to say my opinion, because I know what the facts say. They say that, the Sumerians are also okay. So Samuel Noah Kramer pretty much wrote a book, the 39 First of Sumer, basically, and it's gives you an idea of their first inventions that were adapted throughout the whole world. And in that book, he actually talks about what is called the Farmer's Almanac, basically how to do agriculture and stuff like that. So a lot of people would say that the Sumerians are considered, one of the first to be able to start some type of, look that up, exactly. That one right there. That's the book. And it has in there 39 first of what, and it says right there in big old letters, in recorded history, right? So because they're considered the first civilization because of their writing system. And Samuel Noah Kramer in there says that, like he said, he has a chapter in there that says Almanac, Farmer's Almanac, or the first Farmer's Almanac, or something like that. And he gives the idea that that's where, maybe agriculture starts. When you read the Bible, God created humans, basically, or Adam, basically, to toil the earth, which is reference to agriculture. And when you get agriculture going, you obviously are going to start a trade, because people are going to like what you have, and you're going to want or need something that the other individual has. So that corn that is grown here can be used for parsley somewhere else, right? So in reality, we really don't know where trading started, because trading can be as simple as you have a certain type of animal that you hunt that I like to eat, such as fish, and another person might hunt deer that could trade the deer meat for fish meat, because the people have their own thing, and that's the beginning of trade. Now, do we consider trade when it starts beginning when we start doing monetary gains? Possibly, because a lot of the trading that happened in the past was to build cities. Right? It wasn't just for the individual person. It was to help build cities, and you had to pay taxes to the kings, right? When I talked about when the Akkadians came over and took over the Sumerian land, and instead of it being considered one as the Sumerians, it fell under the rule of the Akkadians. That right there is an idea of how trading can support that king from the Akkadians, which is Sargon the Akkad. So I like that. I liked how Tony Apsu said, I think calendars can determine agro. And I'm sure you're meaning agriculture. And I believe that too. And I say that because everything that we do is based off of the sun or the moon, right? If the sun hits a certain point, planting certain types of plants and stuff like that will help with agriculture. Animals migrate to certain places depending on the weather, whether it's cold, hot, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes they move further down south, closer to what they can get to the equator as possible. And then when it gets warm enough in the north, they might go back up north. So it's just, trading is so hard to determine, only because of the simple fact that they go off of what is considered written records. And that's why the Sumerians, with their pictographic script, it was considered, their pictographic script started because of trading. See, like I said earlier, if I didn't say it while we was live and we was just talking in the backdrop, the Akkadians are the ones where you get most of the stories about the Anunnaki / the Anunnaki and stuff like that. The Sumerians, when they started their writing system, it was only due to the simple fact for trading and some type of government, I guess you can say. I don't know if government is the right word, but political or something like that. It was more for that. So trading, like you said, it's hard to pinpoint that. And you can see trading from around the world, even with simple as flints and stones and stuff like that. So it's hard to get that in there.
Well, and there's a lot of stuff that I use off that one video I showed you, that Ali buy a video every year of history. It was kind of not really true, the title, but he shows that the first civilization is in the middle of Africa. That's the mainstream, but it was landlocked according to what he showed. So it's like, is it like, Is there actually international trade? Obviously, there was something going on before that. It's just not in our history, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's why I think with this Atlantis discussion is, and I like these discussions because we go with the flow. At least here we do. The Atlantis theory is, and I asked you this, and you remember I asked everybody actually on the panel when we was up there at Cosmic Summit. I said, "What is your definition of a civilization?" And I asked that because the talk about Atlantis is the idea that they were an advanced civilization, and I wonder what did they do that was considered so advanced more than other people. Like, we know the ancient Egyptians had pyramids. We know the Peruvians had pyramids. We know in Machu Picchu they brought stone up mountains and stuff like that, and that's considered ancient civilization. We have records of that. We have pictographic artifacts and everything else from them, right? But could a flood really destroy a really advanced civilization? And I consider that in the idea of us today. Look at us today. Could a flood destroy everything in our world in a matter of 1,000 years? And some people will argue that it can, because metal will rust up and disappear, but we still will have fragments of things, right? We will still have certain types of metals that's still around. We would have certain types of buildings around. There's this one guy, I won't say his name because he gets really he's just a special kind of person. He says that Atlantis is in Egypt, and he gives his theories.
I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. Santorini is what he says, right? Santorini. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Ancient Rebirth. Wait. Ancient Enigma.
Yeah, you know. So yeah, Enigma. So you already know who Enigma is. Yeah. So what is your thoughts about him?
Well, unfortunately, I don't know where he gets his decisions from, but I just don't agree with any of it. I think that there's no way you're going to talk about Atlantis being in Egypt in a story where Atlantis is enslaving Egypt, and then suddenly a small island, Santorini, has a cataclysm. I mean, I don't know if that's really part of his story. There's a couple of different versions, so I don't know. But, I mean, we're talking about, first of all, the description by Plato points past the Pillars of Hercules. He puts it right there by Cadiz. So when we're talking about places near Syria or Jerusalem or Egypt, I mean, Plato mentions Egypt in his story. So the whole idea of it being an allegory for something that, I mean, why would you use Egypt in an allegory about Egypt? That it just doesn't match up. Where Plato uses real world, locations, Cadiz and the Atlantic Ocean and everything, the Straits of Gibraltar and it's like and the Pillars of Hercules. He's pointing right there. So when it comes to stuff like that, I don't really jive with it very much. And yeah, he bugs me all the time. He actually, I don't want to control me, but he's pushy, man. He's pushy.
Yeah, he is. And you know what's so funny is that I had a lot of discussions with him on my YouTube channel, and it doesn't seem like that when he's on live on camera. He only does it on Twitter, X, and other social medias. And I would say this: he has a belief that what he researches is correct. His authors, his documentaries, and all that, they're the right ones. And I've told him plenty of times, hey, bro, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't care less where it's at. I just want the facts. And he knows me. I've read, thousands of books. I've read a lot of books, and I share a lot of what I share. And I only share what I've learned. I don't share my opinion or theory or anything like that. And I don't share somebody else's. I can't, if you put so much information and so much time into researching something, if you can't make multiple arguments for the subject, then you're picking a side of the story. Because I can make an argument for it to be near Cadiz. I can make an argument for it to be in Egypt, and I can also make it in the Sahara Desert and every other place. And I can make an argument for Antarctica. I can make an argument for the Americas. One of the good ones is how Fear brought up that book. A lot of stuff in that book that he uses, they use sources of books that I've already personally read. And I can tell just based off, and that's why I wanted to get the book, because I want to break it down and see what it really says in there for myself. I can tell you, like we did our discussion last time about this, and they mentioned Ivan van Sertima. They came before Columbus in that book. And I said to him, I said, you know, this dude, how can Atlantis be in this area if the guy that he's using as a source says that, you know, the people of the Olmecs come from this place in Africa, and they use this place as the reference because of the helmets that they have on the Olmec heads. You know, that's the only type of helmets that they have in Africa that uses that. And yeah, so that's why I said, so how can Atlantis be there first? Also, knowing that they don't have any bones or civilization that actually says that. A lot of people go off at Atlantis because they say it's an advanced civilization. So what made them so much more advanced than other people that we no longer have remnants of them, except the story from Plato that he got from somebody from so many time frame before that? You know what I'm saying? It just makes me question, what is their idea? Why do you say this is Atlantis? Why do you think the Americas is Atlantis? Using linguistics, using artifacts, using DNA, and using the idea that the same sources you use for these certain individuals actually come from a different place based off of this evidence. So it's just so many questions that I have. And that's why, you know, before I say, for me personally, where is Atlantis? And I always say, you give one of the great ideas, arguments for Atlantis because of your thorough research. You use sources from different locations that get that. The only thing is that I don't understand is, and I kind of got an answer from doing a lot of research behind it. An island doesn't necessarily mean an island in the middle of a piece of water. That's not something that it can mean they're between two rivers, which I've learned from what some people consider what an island is. So,
well, yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Let me just say, if you want me to comment on that, I will say that Plato wrote first paragraph, it was an island bigger than Libya and Asia combined. So by definition, that is not just an island, that's a continent. Yeah. And actually that came from David Miano. I love the way he phrased that. And he's like the worst person if you want to get him on this story. Don't even get started with David Miano. But he said that it's bigger than Asia and Libya combined. That's not an island anymore. Okay. Yeah. It's bigger than Asia and Libya combined. So he says that, and then he said it turned into an impassable barrier of mud. Mm. Okay, that's the other part. That doesn't point into the middle of the ocean. That points it to some type of coastal thing. I'm going to just hang up on that person if I can. Why is it so difficult? There we go. So, okay, that's the first thing he says. Then later on, he says it again. He says it was beyond the Pillars of Hercules, and it was, he didn't say go straight out in the Atlantic Ocean 1,000 miles. He never said that. Yeah. He also, one more thing, made reference to the islands in the open sea. He made reference to that. So how can you talk about islands in the open sea compared to a continent?
So this leads me to that. So in your eyes, Fear, why do you think, from your research, just from that book so far of what you've read, why do you believe that Atlantis is more in the Americas versus anywhere else, and the idea behind it?
That's directed to Fear.
Well, I truly believe that Atlantis or Atlanteans was like a more worldwide. There was different multiple locations of Atlantis, but which one of them was the absolute capital? Which one was the absolute biggest? You know, that's the direction that I go with. But I don't believe that Atlantis was just one specific location. However, like I said, there had to have been a capital somewhere. But America being the true old world, I mean, we have different civilizations from India to Egyptian to like Mayans, the Aztecs, like all over on this end of the world. So I do believe that like it was more towards where we are established, in my opinion. But that's where my research and like the way that I've gone into it over the years, like that's what I believe. I did used to believe that the Richat structure was one, but it could have been like like a stronghold of some sort of an Atlantean civilization, but not exactly Atlantis.
Right. So let me ask you this: what is your favorite source for Atlantis as far as Plato? Because different people have different translations and different interpretations of Timaeus and Critias. So which one do you follow the most? Because I know you probably read Timaeus and Critias. Which one which author do you use the most?
Honestly, I only keep them as a reference of they wrote about it prior. Whether they with their interpretations on the locations, that's up to them. I can't prove it because we're not living in those days of those maps back then. No one really freaking knows. Right. But as far as just like reference, I always go with maps. I go with like the oldest maps that I could find, compare them, and go from there.
Okay, so one of my favorites is Benjamin Jowett. He has, and it's actually on the internet.
Say that again, Benjamin who?
Jowett. Is Benjamin Jowett. It's actually on the internet archives. He wrote Timaeus, and he also did Critias too. But you can read his version online for free. It's not that long. It's not that long at all. This is the thing that people don't understand, and this is why I always tell people all they have to do is read the sources. And I say, if you read the source, if you read Benjamin Jowett, I think he wrote his. I can't remember the exact date. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I can tell you the exact date that he wrote these. He wrote these in 1871. Okay. He wrote these books in 1871. I'm going to pull it up real quick. So I'm going to present my screen real quick. Just keep your screen up. So this is the one that I like. So sacred-text.com is one of my favorite websites. And the reason why it's one of my favorite websites is you can get all the old ancient texts from everything on there. Literally everything. And he has on here Timaeus. He also has Critias on there too, but he wrote these in 1871, and it's not that long at all. And what people fail to realize is that, so here I hit Control F, right, and I hit Atlantis, right, where there's only three times Atlantis is mentioned in Timaeus, and it's all in one paragraph. It's literally in one paragraph. So you don't have to read you should read the whole thing, of course, right? But you don't have to read the whole thing to understand what it is. All you have to do is type in Critias and then go to another person's version and see where that paragraph is and see what exactly was written and changed from that point. And I do that with everything. So that's why I said I read the whole thing, and then I go use my digital work, the technology that was given to me. I hit Control F and I hit Atlantis, and I see that's only 3 times in this one. And it literally says here, right here, it says, the first one says, let's see, this power came forth out of the Atlantic.
Any way you can zoom in on that? Can you zoom in so it's this going the full screen? No. I mean, at the top, can you hit the 3 hamburgers, the little 3 dots, and go into the zoom and zoom it in?
Yeah, I got you.
There you go. Thank you. That'd be great.
Right here. Yeah, I got you.
More.
You want me to do it some more? Okay, cool.
More.
How about this? Better?
Awesome.
Okay, so right here, I'll read it out. The first one starts, the first paragraph. We'll see. Okay, it says, this power came forth out of the Atlantic Ocean. So the power came out of the Atlantic Ocean. Out of the Atlantic Ocean. This is how I like to do things. Out of Atlantic Ocean, meaning that somewhere out of the Atlantic Ocean they came from, right? Listen to those words. And I always talk about, there's a point that I'm making to this. Okay, for in those days the Atlantic was navigable, meaning that they could move throughout the Atlantic Ocean. They were able to move throughout the Atlantic Ocean. I'm repeating myself. There's a reason why I'm doing this. And there was an island situated in front of the straits, which are by you called the Pillars of Hercules. The island was larger than Libya and Asia put together. You said that, Stig, and was the way to other islands. Okay, meaning other islands in that area. Okay, and from which these you might pass to the whole of the opposite continent which surrounded the true ocean. For this sea, which is within the Straits of Hercules, is only a harbor. Okay, it's only a harbor, meaning it's a place for boats, having a narrow entrance. Okay, meaning they had a very narrow entrance, but that other is a real sea, and the surrounding land may be the most truly called on this continent. Now, in this island of Atlantis, there was a great and wonderful empire which had ruled over the whole island and several others, and the other parts of the continent. And furthermore, the men of Atlantis had subjugated.
By the way, notice how they use the word continent right there.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yep. Parts of the continent, and furthermore, the men of Atlantis has subjected the parts of Libya within the columns of Hercules as far as Egypt, and Europe as far as Tyrrhenia. Now, this is why I say Enigma needs to pay attention and actually read the ancient text for himself, because they already say Atlantis is part, Egypt is part of Atlantis. It's literally written in the thing. So we already know that. So you making an argument for that? Well, now make your argument for this place, Tyrrhenia. Make your argument
that's part
also
of Italy. That's part
Europe,
of Italy.
Europe.
See, and that's actually the word Europe was never used in any translation I saw. So,
exactly.
But Tyrrhenia is Europe, so he's adding that in. I mean, that's a word that maybe wasn't translated, but was placed in there. Libya. Now, Libya. Where was Libya? I think Libya was west of Egypt. There's nothing between Egypt and Libya. What do you got? Nothing. So when they say Libya, Libya was what is west of Egypt. Definitely.
Yeah. And then when you go to the third time that it's mentioned in this book, it says, but afterwards there occurred a violent earthquakes and floods. And in a single day and night of misfortune, all your warlike men and a body sank into the earth, and the island of Atlantis in like manner disappeared in the depths of the sea, for which reason the sea in those parts is impassable and penetrable.
Okay, so there he takes it a different direction. You know, I haven't seen this translation before, and I haven't done a lot of translations. And when I was presenting the other day, I was checking other translations and listening to them. And this is Timaeus, right?
Yep,
and I can tell because what he said in the beginning, and I'm not. Look, I everybody has their translation. I feel that this guy is changing the story just a slightly, not a big insulting way. Right. Maybe it's because of the way he sees it, but just the way he put Europe in there, I question that. But then again, I don't read the ancient Greek. I don't know what the ancient Greek actually said. So I depend on people like this guy. And you didn't say it in the beginning, but it's a translation. You're like, he wrote it. I'm like, no, he translated it. But at the same time, hey, Crackshot just said something about the Mediterranean Sea not having water in it 12,000 plus years ago, a very deep canyon. This is something that I'm getting to. Like, I believe that the Mediterranean Sea could have been a strip mine, just like Lake Titicaca. If you look into Lake Titicaca, Peru, it could have been a strip mine that got full of water and never emptied because strip mines don't have drainage, so they fill up with water. And so maybe the Mediterranean was the same story, separating Europe from Africa, and that creation, the Mediterranean Sea itself, was just a big old strip mine. Thank you, Crackshot, for bringing that up. I won't try to let, I don't know where you got that information, but I've heard that before.
Okay. So
back to go on.
So let me see. Hold on. Let me make sure.
If you want to go back to Timaeus, I can say a couple things about that.
Yeah. Go ahead. So while I look this up real quick, because I want to verify.
So Plato in Timaeus said 2 times it's a true story. In Critias, he said 3 times, maybe 2. I got to check it again. He said it's a true story. Why would he say 4 times it's a true story? They literally said there's one reason why we're talking about this in Timaeus. It's a true story that we need to talk about, a true cataclysm that we need to talk about that happened. And people are trying to say, no, it was an allegory. It was just Egypt. Egypt what, bitch?
So I wanted to make sure of this, and it's hard to find these types of sources for it. But there were definitely the individuals that wrote book before Jowett and his translations of Timaeus and Critias. There's Thomas Taylor, who wrote one who's notable at the first English version of the Platonic corpus, including Timaeus. Public domain. So let's do a comparative study. Let's do a comparative study real quick. So look. Oh, so yeah, it's Proculus Commentary on the Timaeus of Plato, Volume 1, and it's by Thomas Taylor. So let me share this screen right here. So this is one of the first people. I like Jowett because I bought his book from Penguin Classics. It's on Penguin's Classics.
Yeah, get rid of that crack shot comment that's in the way.
Oh yeah, hold on.
And let me say one thing. So that now Michael Donnellan says he has 17 versions of this. I don't know which one, because you got 2 writings. Plato, he wrote in ancient Greek, and we got all these different translations. But we got to seek the truth here. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go on.
Oh no, I was just saying that this is, you can buy his book right here. This is one of the earliest versions of Timaeus. So I'm probably going to buy this book just to compare it to Benjamin Jowett's, because I know English versions are always adding words for people's narratives. And when you mentioned Europe, I never thought about that. But maybe if I buy this book, I can compare it to what Jowett actually says. Maybe let me see if I can find
Well, the thing about that is Europe is a word that we use in modern day. I don't believe ancient Greek had this word, but I could be wrong. And that's the thing. Let me say one thing about the Timaeus. First of all, Plato wrote, and I used to say Plato read Solon's notes when he was a young boy. That's not quite true. Plato wrote that Critias, the younger, not the older, got the notes handed down to him and studied them as a young kid in his dialogue. Well, he also in Timaeus wrote, Critias started off by saying that this is something that really happened, and it's a cataclysm, put him in the mud, and after that, I think it was Socrates goes on for like 3.5 hours talking about the creation of the universe. It's not even related to Atlantis at all. It's like a little, like what happens in Timaeus is like a little teaser, and then you don't get the full information until you get a Critias. I've always studied Critias. I haven't studied Timaeus until recently. I started going over it, and there were a couple things I learned because it was an alternative translation. And the translation, go on.
So here you go. You can actually buy his book. Okay, bro. You can actually buy his book. You can actually read his books on the Internet Archive.org. So if you have a Kindle like I do, you can.
Which person?
The same Thomas Taylor, the same guy that I was telling you about.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Let me see something.
We got a lot of fireworks going off outside. I live in a building that once got hit by a bullet.
Damn.
Like somebody shot a bullet in the air and it went through the ceiling.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. That didn't work. There we go.
Commentaries of Proclus. That confuses me. What's that there for? Well, this is a commentary by some other person on Plato's writings. He's doing a commentary, maybe. Proclus. Who's the hell is Proclus?
Persons of dialogue, Socrates, Critias, Hold on, let me make this bigger.
I just double checked on the person's. I was going to do a joke at Cosmic Summit. Say Hermacules gave me a version of his book in advance. I got an advanced version of the Hermacules because Timaeus was supposed to be a trilogy. I'm told. I don't know why we know this, but it's supposed to be a trilogy, and Hermacules was the third one, and then it was never published. I guess I don't know why. Plato never finished Critias either.
Hold on, I'm about to download it. I'm gonna see if I can. Oh man,
what is this link you're using again?
Archive.gov, internetarchive.gov. It's basically.
No, I'm just joking. I use it all the time. I love it.
Yeah, I'm about to type in that part about Atlantis. I'm gonna type in Atlantis and Control F and see if this earlier version actually says Europe, like how it said Europe of Tyrrhenia.
I can tell you from my memory, the two versions I read, because Timaeus I read a long time ago, and then recently I found a new translation. It was a video, but it showed the text on the screen. And I was watching that, and once it got to the universe creation, it was like another 3 hours, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it, because I already knew that Critias was done talking about Atlantis and Timaeus. So once Critias, the character written by Plato in the dialogue, he talks about Atlantis. He foreshadows his story that he tells in Critias, and he talks about how it's a true story about basically a civilization gone awry. But let's be honest, and I don't see fear here right now, but when we talk about Mu and we talk about Pacific Ocean stuff, Easter Island, and anything that's in over there, I don't think it's false. I believe it happened. I look at the evidence. I do believe that it would admit. Can you call it Atlantis? That's Plato's story. I would call it either pre-Atlantis or global Atlantis, which I don't know what happened before. Look, I'm looking at stuff in North America that I believe happened way, way before anything happened in Atlantis.
Right.
I'm thinking about these ridges and stuff, they just don't belong there. And it's like somebody did that. Maybe they weren't human, but we have some type of a history without the written part of it. We have some type of a story of our past. Can we call it history? No, it hasn't been written, but it's definitely I don't want to say it's the true story, but something's going on here.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to go through this because I hit the Control F and try to find the what it was talking about. So I'm gonna have to go through all this and find many great wonders, wonderful deeds. I'll have to go through each one of those until I find that paragraph. Many great wonders. So yeah, that's what I like to do. Is I just like to. I was telling you at the Cosmic Summit. What I like to do is I like to do what I like to call comparative study discussions. I share what I've learned. You share what you've learned. That's why when Fear brought that book up, it was interesting to me. But I also know that I can, just based off of our simple conversations, I do know that I can see why this person might say what they say, but maybe they didn't know the ins and outs. Like I said, I can make an argument for Atlantis being in Antarctica just because of the simple fact that there are people who give some evidence for that. Do I think it's right? No, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't know if it's accurate information or not. I just know that I understand what those people say. So that's why I make it a point on skipping what articles say, skipping what other people say, and just reading Plato for myself in the language that I understand it
in. I agree with that. And yeah, it's important to, number one, I don't like to make determinative statements. And I'm going to not pick on Crackshot. Wait, yeah, Crackshot says at the end, Europe was under Ice Age due to the last Ice Age. Okay, first of all, that's illogical. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I don't like to make statements like that. I like to make conditional statements. Could have, would have, maybe, And yeah, there's a few things that I definitely recognize. Sorry about my camera. I just kicked it. There's certain things that I think I can come up with on my own and say, yeah, that's for sure. I don't even try to do that anymore. I'm kind of done, I'm over it. Let's get back into carpentry, bro. Carpentry.
It's funny because, like I said, that's why I asked earlier, Fear, about about his favorite source or best source for Atlantis, because his book, Godfrey, not Godfrey Higgins, and other individuals who talk about these books or the place of Atlantis, it's right now, it's none of it is guaranteed, and it does say that when he said earlier that it was worldwide, I believe it could have been worldwide just because of the knowledge they had. We don't know we don't have pyramids that identify anything as Atlantis. The only thing we have is circles, right? Because of the description that's in there.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah.
So to me, it's just, was that what made Atlantis more advanced than others if whatever they built didn't attest to the time of going thousands of years, like some of these things. Like, we have things from that only go back to about, maybe some people would say, depending on, and we're just going to give a happy median amongst 5 to 20,000 years, right? That includes Göbekli Tepe, that includes the Sphinx, that includes the water erosion. It's 15 to 20,000 years seems to be the happy median for most people. And then,
well, let's talk about the Sphinx. I can talk about the Sphinx. I mean, first of all, was it a Yardang? Why is that head popping up above that member, that first member, the top member that's up at the top above everything else? Why was it up there? Is it a Yardang? And I believe that it was an ancient stone that was placed there, carved into a lion's head to memorialize, that's not the right word, but to look at the Leo constellation, to look at the eastern equinox of the Leo constellation. I believe that's true. I don't believe it was ever a dog. I'll tell you one reason why is because Anubis is not on the ecliptic. We've got 12 constellations on the ecliptic, and one of them is the lion. 10,000 years ago, maybe 11,000, the Sphinx was facing the lion as the age of Leo. Right now, what age is it right now? It's not the age of Aquarius, okay? It's the age of Pisces. It's still Pisces. It's going to continue to be Pisces for another 800 years. And so we got to, I used Stellarium. I went back 30,000 years. And the Leo was maybe, I thought it was 11,000. Somebody said 10, whatever. Leo is about 10,000 or 11,000 years ago. So I think that the Sphinx is at least that old. But even Robert Schoch has hinted, he didn't say this out loud, but it was hinted from other conversations that it could have been a previous precession of the equinox. That's 26,000 years, 25,920. If you want to multiply 360 to 72 degrees, 72 degrees every year, right? Or no, every 100 years? I forgot. But it's 15,920 years. That's the precession. So the age of Leo, if it happened 10,000 years ago, it also happened 36,000 years ago, 35,920 years ago. So we've got this idea that Leo was facing, first of all, I really believe the Sphinx was looking at the eastern equinox for sure. During the age of Leo, I believe that. Was it the last one or the one before that? Even Robert Schoch has kind of said maybe it was 36,000 years ago, not just 10,000. And I don't know. I mean, I think that it's a lot older than 10 to me. I think it was probably the first thing on that whole plateau. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is from that book that I just shared. I just downloaded the text version, and I typed in, I did Control F, and I typed in Atlantis, and the closest thing that came up for that was where it said Atlantic Island, and I'll just read what it says. It says, for the resumption of the discourse about polarity and the narration respecting the Atlantic island unfold through images the theory of the world. For if we direct our attention to the union and multitude of mundane natures, we must say that the polarity which Socrates similarly discusses is an image of their union. And I don't understand how this word is establishing as it's the as it's in the communion with pervades through all things, but that the war of the Atlantics with the Athenians, which Critias narrates, is an image of the division of mundane natures, and especially of the opposition according to the coordinates of thirds. So I don't really see anything about that. We know that the Atlanteans, or however you want to call them, were warlike individuals, so that's not even an argument anybody's trying to make. So that's
see what he's doing though. Look back at that. He says which Critias narrates. That's like literally a third person translation of this document. It's not really a word for word translation after all. He's kind of like
yeah, that's what I was saying.
His opinion, yeah, because it says well, he even misspelled it, right? I mean, I don't think you misspelled that. You copied and pasted which Critias narrates. He's like giving an opinion in a way.
Yeah, right here. But the word that I said,
is this still Timaeus?
Well, this is supposed to be. So I'll scroll up. This is the commentary of Proclus, the Timaeus of Plato, in 5 books.
I see.
So this is so when I looked it up, is that this is supposed to be the first book or the oldest version before Joet that mentions anything about Atlantis.
You have a year on this? No. You said 1800s. That's
1871. This is from like the 1400s or something like that.
I think we've had commentaries on Atlantis before then, haven't we? I mean, I guess if you really want to say he's the first one, he's before Edward Casey, he's before Ignatius Donnelly. Then I would say, okay.
Publication. So this was republished in 1820.
Look, you were there. You saw how they felt about my criticism of Edward Casey. The guy stood up, right? And he was angry and said, we're supposed to have an open mind here. But I think that we have to make a decision whether or not we're going to have an open mind about psychicness, Edward Casey, and his diatribes, or if we're going to look at just what Plato said. Now, you're talking about still 1800s here. I kind of feel like he's tainted a little bit. But at the same time, what you've shown so far is not going too far from the original text. And when I say original, it's what I've gotten from my research. I've never read the ancient Greek, so I don't know what the original text says. I've tried. Yeah. I didn't have good luck with it, so I stopped. Yeah.
Well, they don't. Try again. The thing is they don't have an original text that talks about it. This is translations from people that said they translated from something else. So
give me a copy of the original text. I don't know how to prove it's the original text, but I assume if it matches the story, it'll be the original text. I want to take that and I'll throw it in ChatGPT myself. Especially Critias. It's only like 13 pages.
Yeah, it's not that long. That's why I was saying anybody that wants to know about Atlantis, you can read literally Timaeus and Critias in less than an hour.
If you trick ChatGPT, it'll tell you. If you say, "Give me the ancient Greek version of Critias," by the way, forget Timaeus because that's just too long. The first few pages that Critias dialogues in, I think that's relevant. After that, forget it.
I bring that one up.
But I'm going to say though, give me a copy of the original text. I don't have one, and I can't find it. I can't download the PDF. I want to know how to get it. Anybody in the comment, please help. Hey yo, Burneye, he's also crypto, the same guy. He's got a couple of accounts. He just joined us. Burneye, let's let him get in the comment here. Let's see what he has to say about it. Wake this chat up. Let me give him the link. Do you mind?
No, go ahead. Send it in.
Okay, so you guys talk for a bit, and I'll do that. Hold on.
I typed in Critias.
Enlarge that text. Zoom in. Thank you.
So this is Critias, right? And it's mentioned, Atlantis is only mentioned 4 times by the word Atlantis in there. So I'll read what it says. It says, let me begin by observing first all that 9,000 was the sum of years which had elapsed since the war. Listen to me. Let me begin by observing first of all that 9,000 was the sums of year which had elapsed since the war which was said to have taken place between those who dwelt outside the pillars of Hercules and all who dwelt within them. This war I'm going to describe. Now, when they say 9,000 years, they're describing a war. They're not saying that Atlantis was destroyed by a war. They was destroyed by an earthquake, which was consumed over with water. That's what Timaeus says, right? So let me keep going. Of the combatants on the one side, the city of Athens was reported to have been the leader and to have fought out the war. The combatants on the other side were commanded by the kings of Atlantis, which, as was saying, was an island greater in extent than Libya and Asia, and when afterwards sunk by an earthquake, became impassable barrier of mud to voyagers sailing from hence to any part of the ocean, meaning that they couldn't swim, or they couldn't swim. They couldn't go anywhere in the sea. Now, let's go to the next one. Here's the second one. I have before remarked in speaking of all the allotments of the gods that they distributed the whole earth into portions differing in extent, and made for themselves temples and instituted sacrifices. And Poseidon, receiving for his lot the island of Atlantis, begat children by a mortal woman and settled them in part of the island, which I will describe, looking towards the sea. But in the center of the whole island there was a plain which is said to have been the fairest of all plains and very fertile. Near the plain again, and also in the center of the island, at a distance of about 50 stadia, there was a mountain not very high on any side. Now let's go to the third one. Here's the third one. In this mountain there dwelt one of the earth-born primeval men of that country, whose name was Evanor, and he had a wife named Leucippe, and they
now that's something I never heard before. That's interesting.
Yeah. And
I haven't heard that before.
And they had a daughter who was called Cleito.
Okay. Now I know. I'm sorry. Go on. I know.
Okay. The maiden had already reached womanhood when her father and mother died. Poseidon fell in love with her and had intercourse with her, and breaking the ground enclosed the hill in which she dwelt all around, making alternate zones of sea and land, larger and smaller. Encircling one another, there were 2 of a land and 3 of water. Remember when I said that an island can be considered an island because it's between two rivers? That's what I was referencing to. Encircling one another, there were 2 of the land and 3 of water, which he turned as with a lathe, with each having its circumference equivalent every way from the center, so that no man could get to the island, for ships and voyages were not as yet. Okay, ships and voyagers were not as yet. Now, that's interesting to me because a lot of people like Enigma would say that they talk about ships, but it literally says for ships and voyages were not as yet. He himself, being a god, found no difficulty in making special arrangements for the center island, bringing up 2 springs of water from beneath the earth, one of warm water and the other of cold, and making every variety of food to spring up abundantly from the soil. He also begat and brought up 5 pairs of twin male children, and dividing the island of Atlantis into 10 portions. Okay, the island of Atlantis into 10 portions. He gave to the firstborn of the eldest pair his mother's dwelling and a surrounding allotment, which was the largest and best, and made him king over the rest. The others he made princes and gave them rule over men and a large territory, and he named them all. The eldest, who was the first king, he named Atlas. Okay, I already did a discussion with Cadence, Fear knows who he is, who talks a lot about Atlantis. And after him, the whole island and the ocean were called Atlantic. Listen to me. And he named them all. The eldest, who was the first king, he named Atlas. And after him, the whole island and the ocean were called Atlantic. Okay. So wherever Atlantic was considered, was part of what? Atlantis. To his twin brother, who was born after him and obtained his lot, the extremity. Listen, the extremity of the island towards the pillars of Hercules, meaning that the extremity, that could just mean word for like capital, I guess. Part of the world he gave them name, which in the Hellenic and language is Emulus, in the language of the country, which is named after him, Gadaris. Now we're just going to skip all that because it's a
no. I that's my main part that proves that the part across from Cadiz was part of Atlantis, but it went to the twin. Hey, by the way, I'm just sending a link to that guy. Just wanted to double check. Is it possible to resend the link?
Yeah.
I think I got it this time. I don't want to put it out there everywhere, but I got a new link from you. Anyways, so the point, let me not cut you off, but what you just said is you don't think that part was important, but I think it is, because it's basically saying that Atlantis is right there beyond the Pillars of Hercules at Cadiz, across from Cadiz, across from what? Out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean to across from where? No, he mentions diverse islands in the open sea. So he's talking about Morocco.
Yeah, and that's actually what Cadence talks about a lot too. But I didn't mean that it wasn't important right there. I think this part is what backs up what it says, because all these and their descendants for many generations were the inhabitants and rulers of diverse islands in the open sea.
Wait. That word you said diverse, right? Divers.
Yeah.
See. I tell you right now. I think you have the same copy I copied, because I was corrected. It's not divers like people diving. It's diverse, like several, like various islands. See, that right there makes me think you're looking at the same copy that I checked. No, I don't know where you got that from right now. I think it's supposed to be diverse with an E at the end, not just divers, but diverse.
No, here we go. Look, this is why I'm glad you said that. So let me bring this up. This is why I love research. So let me pull this up. What does that say?
Various or types of various. I believe that, and that's what I would say. Varying types is various, not like divers that are diving in the ocean and catching fish. I honestly thought it was the fishermen for years, until someone corrected me and said it's not divers, it's diverse.
Right.
So it's interesting that you found that. I don't know. I mean, so we're talking about
that's why I said that part. I didn't mean it for it not to be important. This part right here is what backs up with that, because a lot of people, because I was going to actually say that a lot of people will read this part right here and they'll say Divers Island, meaning that it's an island where people go dive into the water, which is not the case. And I already showed that. Right, because when
I first saw that, I thought a bunch of fishermen that were like working.
Yeah, that's what people say. That's what.
But why would you go from the Azores 1,000 miles away? Right, the Azores is not that close to Spain, so you're not like a diver. It's like, okay, I'm from Spain, but I'm going to go over to the Azores to do my diving. So I realized later on.
Yeah. So here's the last one. Here's the fourth time that it's mentioned in Critias, which it says, such was the vast power which the gods settled in the lost island of Atlantis, and this he afterwards directed against our land for the following reasons. As tradition tells, for many generations, as long as the divine nature lasted in them, they were obedient to the laws and well affectionate towards the God, and it's only one God, it says, towards the God, whose seed they were, for they possessed true and in every way great spirits, uniting gentleness with wisdom in various chances of life, and in their intercourse with one another. They despised everything but virtue, caring little for their present state of life, and thinking lightly of the possession of gold and other property, which seemed only a burden to them. Neither were they intoxicated by luxury, nor did wealth deprive them of their self-control, but they were sober and saw clearly that all these goods are increased by virtue and friendship with one another, whereas by too great regard and respect for them, they are lost friendship with them. Now, let me show you something. I always say advanced civilization, because people say when you type in advanced in here, you won't find anything about Atlantis being advanced civilization, right? Let's type in civilization. You can't even type in civilization because it doesn't say nothing.
It's not in there.
Exactly. Yeah. So now let's go back to Let's stop
Hey,
sharing.
by the way, is my friend Bernie in the chat? He's not
he
there.
never came. No, he hasn't came in yet.
All right, no problem. So civilization's not in there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to Timaeus and see what, because remember my question is what made Atlantis so more advanced than other civilizations. So let's type in civilization. Okay, so civilized. Okay, so here, let me bring this up. And this is how I do my research. And it's very easy to tell, and you should be able to get the answers very easily. So here we go. So it says, the fact is, and this is I typed in, let's see, I tried to type in civilization, but I couldn't, of course, right? So I type in this and it tells me where I can find civilized at. So it says the first one in Timaeus, it says the fact is that wherever the extremity of winter frost or of the summer does not prevent, mankind exists, sometimes in greater, sometimes in lesser numbers. And whatever happened, either in your country or in ours or in any other region of which we are informed with, there were any actions noble or great or in any other way remarkable, they have all been written down by us of old and are preserved in our temples. Whereas just when you and other nations are beginning to be provided with letters and the other requisites of civilized life, after the usual interval, the stream from heaven like a pestilence comes pouring down and leaves only for those of you who are destitute of letters and education. And so you have to begin all over again like children and know nothing of what happened in ancient times, whether either among us or among ourselves. As for those genealogies of yours, which you just now recounted to us so long, they are no longer better than the tales of children. In the first place, you remember a single deluge only, but there were many previous ones. In the next place, you do not know that there formerly dwelt in your land the fairest and noblest race of men, which are lived, and that you and your whole city are descended from a small seed or remnant of them which survived. And this was unknown to you, because for many generations the survivors of the destruction died, leaving no written word. For there was a time so long before the great deluge of all, when the city which now is Athens was first in war, and in every way the best governed of all cities, is said to have performed the noblest deeds and to have the fairest constitution of any of which tradition tells us under the face of heaven. So basically civilized life, like when I was talking about the Sumerians and the first writing system, well, they're considered the first civilization because of their writing system, right? Well, you see right here that it literally means that letters and education, letters, writing system, right? An alphabet, a type of cuneiform,
that's
whatever.
True, and that's something that I have to be honest. I'm wondering if this, because of the word diverse, I thought it's the same one, but I didn't see this part.
Yeah, and that's how I break it down, is that in order to understand what Atlantis is, once we find a civilization that has anything that does what Atlantis, if it has to have a writing system, because Atlantis had a writing system. They literally had it's literally telling us.
Is this still Timaeus, or is this already Cretaceous? It's Timaeus.
No, this is Timaeus. Yeah, this is from the one of Benjamin Jowett. And remember when I told you I like to hit Control F. So now we're going to type in advanced and see what it does. Okay. So the closest thing they have for advanced is mentioned twice. Okay, so here we go. When the Creator had made all these ordinances, he remained in his own accustomed nature, and his children heard and were obedient to their father's word, and receiving from him the immortal principle of a mortal creature. In the imitation of their own Creator, they borrowed portions of fire and the earth and water and the air from the world, which were hereafter to be restored. These they took and welded them together. Now, welded, remember what you showed me. What you showed me was what? Some type of weld, right? We talked about that already. So welded them together, not with the industrial chains by which they were themselves bound, but with the little pegs too small to be visible, making up all the four elements which separate body and fastening the courses of the immortal soul in a body which was in a state of perpetual influx and efflux. Now these courses, detained as in a vast river, neither overcame nor were overcome, but were hurrying and hurried to and fro, so that the whole animal was moved and progressed irregularly. How forever and irrationally and anyhow in all the 6 directions of motion, wandering backwards and forwards and right and left and up and down in all the 6 directions. For great as was the advancing and retiring flood which provided nourishment. Now that's the only thing that we have anything about advanced civilization or advancing in Timaeus, right? That's it. And then the second one is here we go. And they did, and in fact, at the time, create a very great and mighty movement, uniting with the ever-flowing stream and stirring up violently, shaking the courses of the soul. They completely stopped the revolution of the same by their opposing current and hindered their dominating and advancing. So that's why my question was, because you obviously see you can't really find anything about civilization. You can't really find anything about what is advanced. When you read these parts right here, knowing that the argument is that the Atlanteans had an advanced civilization, what made them so advanced, right? We don't have a writing system from them. We don't have any type of pyramids, right? Everything that we've been shown so far is easily made by humans. When you said that you went to that one place, I can't remember where that fortress was at. When you went there those 3 times, and all you see was a stack of rocks on there, and you stay disappointed, right? That's somebody's argument for Atlantis.
Let me be clear. I went there once. When I said 3 times, I've been to the center 3 times, but right there, I only went once, and I was heartbroken. You're right, and it's true that I actually thought this was not Atlantis, but there's reasons why I changed my mind.
And that's why I say, for me personally, just reading the earliest known versions that are available to me right now, at least, is through Plato, and that's why I follow Plato's work, because of the simple fact that that's where everybody follows, right? And I believe, well, yeah, not everybody.
Some people, they seem to be focused on, and what you were just reading was catching me that that was a translation, and I was limited, but it was a commentary on the translation. So it's like, what is he doing there? I feel like it was like, and he was probably before Edward Casey, in the late 1800s, right? Or was that in the 1900s? When all these psychic feelings, it's just I get overwhelmed by psychicness. I don't jive with psychic. I love being psychic. I feel like I'm psychic. Go on.
No, I was going to say the idea about the psychics and people saying, hey, I had a visual intervention with, where Atlantis is and this, that, and the third, where they would have had that with that same vision if they had not known about Atlantis. Most of these people already known about Atlantis before they had these visions or these dreamlike states, right? I want to hear somebody that says, I've never heard of Atlantis before, but I had a dream, and this is what I was told about Atlantis. And then they were able to put it on paper where people are able to back it up, right? Saying, oh, you said this place, and they pull up Google Earth or some LiDAR report or something like that, and they can show where they got it. Is that to me means more to me than somebody searching where Atlantis is, and then sometime down the line, they have a dream about it. And they're like, oh, well, I know where's it at now because I had a visual dreamlike state that tells me. So I always go back to the sources, and that's why I always it's so easy for me just to hit Control F in anything that I'm reading as far as online work, and just type in Atlantis and go straight to what the sources say. Oh shit, I spelled
but I never thought about plugging in those words like you just did, like for example, advanced or civilization. And it's very interesting the way that it's been translated, and you're hoping that the translators got the word right. They may have missed it. That's why, several versions are important. I'm going to try to get a hold of the 17 versions Michael Donnelly's memorized. Remember when he said he memorized them? I don't know if he's really memorized 17 versions. I don't see how that's possible.
Maybe, but that's interesting, because now I want to see what if it's changed, like if the word Europe is still in there, like right here, does all of them say Europe? Because the word Europe is actually new. Let me actually look up the word. Where did that come from?
And I'm going to look at mine right now because I'm looking at mine. It's right here. Control F, right? Edit, Control F. I use find and replace, and we're looking at the word Europe.
Well, yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
One of three. I got three versions of it. Number one is in the Atlantic. I'm sorry. So before in Critias, we're in Critias right now. There's a version of they're describing Europe. They're describing Athens. And it says here, such were the ancient Athenians. After this manner, they righteously administered their own land and rest of Hellas, and were renowned all over Europe and Asia for the beauty of their persons and their many virtues. Let me go to the next one I found. It's right here. This one is Timaeus. Many great and wonderful deeds are recorded for your state, but one of them exceeds all of the rest in greatness and valor. For these histories tell of the mighty power which unprovoked made an expedition against the whole of Europe and Asia. I'm pretty sure they're talking about, oh shit, it just moved. Okay, let me go to the next one. Sorry. The next one is, yeah, this island of Atlantis, there was a great and wonderful empire which had rule over the whole island and several others, and over parts of the continent. And furthermore, the men of Atlantis had subjected the parts of Libya within the columns of Hercules, as far as Egypt, and of Europe, as far as Tyrrhenia. So to me, what that points at, because Egypt is part of Africa, and it's very far away. It's the farthest in the Mediterranean Sea. But then you've got him saying Europe as far as Tyrrhenia. Well, Tyrrhenia wasn't that far. That was right next to, what do you call it? It's right next to, what country? It's Egypt. I'm sorry, it's Italy, but it's an island that's down by basically, I keep wanting to say the wrong place.
Okay, so I actually found, remember when I said that there's no actual original copy of the Greek?
Yes.
Let me see. Hold on.
I'm willing to believe that because I haven't gotten a hold of one yet.
Well, so this is the funny thing. This is funny. So Perseus Digital Library has a full Greek text with English translation. But guess who it's by? Just take a wild guess.
Say that one more time. So
Perseus Digital Library. I have the website right here. Has a full Greek text with English translation. But guess who it's by?
Somebody recent, a politician, Ignatius Donnelly. I don't know.
No, so it's actually it's actually by Benjamin Jowett, the same one that did the 1871 version. Listen,
ever since you showed me the word diverse, I think that you and I are looking at the same copy, but I don't know. You found the word Europe where? Because I was looking at mine. I found it once in Critias, twice in Timaeus. But then again, this copy, I've cut off a lot of Timaeus. So for all we know, it's been talked about again and again.
Well, see, this is the thing. It doesn't show you. It's supposed to show you the English or the Greek version, but I don't see it. It's not coming up.
Yeah, it's weird. They're dealing with so-called translations. They're not dealing with the original document. It is important too, by the way.
I want to see something. Let me see. Because it's definitely hard. Oh,
hey,
yeah.
How are you doing, Fear? What are you up to? You've been very quiet. How are you doing, Fear?
I'm doing okay. I'm just eating a couple crackers. Diabetes says so.
How do you feel about this? I mean, you were talking about your feelings of Atlantis, But with all this talk, I mean, where do you stand?
No, I was trying to read some stuff from the book like 2.5 hours ago, but
Yeah, go ahead.
It just, conversation got sidetracked. I'm
Got a little sidetracked.
Yeah.
I mean, see, in your book is the title says Mu. And when I think about Mu, I think about the South Pacific. I think about something going on down there. And then I've heard a lot of other versions of the Mu theory. The Atlantis is 12,600 years ago.
Right? Like,
so it's like,
sorry to jump in, but to add on to that, Stig, the Mu.
There he is.
Also Lemuria a lot, and that it is like in the Pacific instead of the Atlantic side. It was the Micronesian Polynesians from Hawaii, Easter Island to
let me just give a quick introduction. Bernie, thank you for joining. Bernie is very, very well tongued, and I definitely think he's got the info as well. That's why I invited him here tonight. So Bernie, you're about to talk about this, and yeah, get started. I'm gonna step away from the camera real quick. But Bernie, I mean, I don't know how much you heard because I know you've been busy tonight, and thank you so much for your support. And let's get this crossover collaboration going. So go say what you were gonna say. Don't let me hold you up.
Yeah, right. So Mu and Lemuria essentially a reference to the same, and it seems to be the prior civilization before Atlantis, and that it's from like the cycles of potentially 36,000 years, maybe 24,000, or even older, from like the legends and in correspondence to the many suns creation stories sort of thing of like we're in the 5th era of man, or we're in the 4th or 5th era of the son of man by like the Hopi creation and lots of the shamanic creation legends, and that what the Mayan calendar, the long count Baktun on 2012, as well as the transition into the age of Aquarius, the fact of the 24.5 12,000 year cycles of the wobble or whatever the whatever the word is that of the equinoxes it'll come to me. My apologies, stumbling on my words. Not that good with my tongue right now. Trying to spit out a lot, but the fact being that we're going into a new age of the sun, and that Atlantis or Enoch, the time of before Noah's flood, was the last age of the sun, supposedly, or the last time, and that it was Lemuria or Mu precession. Thank you, Tony Apsu. That was the word I was stumbling on, the precession of the equinoxes, but that we're going into this new age and new age of the sun, and that not a lot of people are aware of this, but there is some talk of it, that the sun is now white. It is a white pulsar. It is white light. It is no longer the yellow sun that most of us grew up with and remember, and that there's actually been scientific evidence that supports this in the fact that where we are in the precession of the galactic plane, that it's evident now that we're getting these more galactic rays, which is energy into the sun, which is the science of why there's more energy going into it and what's turned it into this white pulsar. But specifically, there's the 11-year sunspot cycle, and that every 11 years, when it was a yellow dwarf star, the magnetic poles would flip at the end of the cycle. At the end of the sunspot cycle, every 11 years, you'd have this instant flip of the magnetic poles of the sun. 2001, that did not happen, and instead it started to pulse a little bit. And well, 11 years later, that is 2012, and that year, again, the sun did not flip its magnetic poles. Instead, it started to pulse even more. And now when you look at the sun, it is bright white. It is one light, and there's lots of videos of it actually pulsing. And then another 11-year cycle was 2023. I watched for that. They're like, nope, never mention of any pole flipping then. And now there's all this talk of, oh, we're in the solar minimum, but it's not going, and it's into the solar maximum, and we don't know what's going on. But there's all these constant increased solar flares, this radiation, the auroras, we're seeing the plasma, the potential plasma apocalypses of the past, whatever these different cataclysms. But it seems like we are legitimately transitioning into this new age of the sun of humanity, and going into this sixth age, and essentially the supposed science of how these things work all made up. It's clearly something else. And
okay, now come on, now that just blew my mind. Tyrone, what do you think about what you're hearing right now?
Yeah, and I agree with him, and that because of the whole fact of what I understand of Mu. Also, I know Mu wasn't part of America, or at least that's what I understood from basic information. And that's why I make it a point to actually just read the sources for myself. And there's not any ancient text that really goes in depth about Mu and Lemuria and stuff like that. There's very, 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 very light in that regard to the information. So that's why I find that interesting. But let me bring this up. So I brought up, remember I was talking about the Timaeus, the original text and stuff like that from the Greek. So they actually,
now we're looking at, that's it right there.
at. And that's what
I want that link. I want that link for sure.
So I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
But not now. Yeah, but not now. But I mean, and it's going to take some work. But and this is just Plato. And then when we talk about Mu and Lemuria,
I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab something to drink real quick.
Okay,
I'm gonna be able to listen.
Fear, you talk first, and then Crypto. Where do you get your Mu? I mean, you got the book in your hand right there, Fear. Where do you get your Mu and your Lemuria information from? That's why it kind of blows my mind. I don't really talk about it too much because I don't have a lot of supporting evidence on it. Fear, you go first.
See, what I do is I read references like bullet points, authors, and then I do a fact check. Look at the documents, like whether it be on Wikipedia, if it's been corroborated, peer reviewed, like if it's been established. Okay, I'll take it as a fact. But me personally, I go by maps. All the ancients, they mapped everything by stars, everything correctly by the universe. So anybody can fluff up a piece of bullshit and put it on the internet and say it's a fact, but the stars don't fucking lie. So, but personally, the way that our sun, the pulsar, has been changing, I think it's because all the bullshit chemicals and metals that they're spraying up there, and that fucking heart machine, like the shooting up electrical rays, poking shit in the ozones, like fuck them, like. Just leave it natural. We wouldn't be in this situation right now. We'd probably be way better off. But yeah, everything changes at least, maybe like two degrees to a fucking degree every year, So, but it's been happening for ages since the Earth began. So like, it's not gonna end. The Earth is constantly changing, but man's just adding on to the bullshit. But however, I go by the stars. That's what I like to go by. So if the stars and the maps match up, because cartography was always been the number one thing of accuracy back then. Like,
yeah, thanks to King Atlas, right? King Atlas.
Exactly. So I go by map references. What the old lands, if the map's been corroborated, yeah, they are like, dated basically. So I go by that.
I like that.
You have a lot of info on that. What do you say?
I was literally just trying to pull up some old maps. I guess synchronistically, as Fear was saying that, and
the host is not here right now, so there's no way to share that.
That's okay. He will be back. But yeah,
I just came back.
There we go. See, another synchronicity. And that's where I get a lot of my information from as well, and finding the not the similarities, but the parallels, the identical parallels in the ancient maps, and that it's when you look at the newest maps compared to the oldest, you find that the oldest all have the same vast amount of pre-cataclysm ice age time where the seas were lower. They all have the topography of pre-cataclysm of the former civilization, and that as the maps progress, you see where the Europeans went, they explored, and then they corrected and kept changing as they actually got to these lands and were able to cartograph them and document them, and that it wasn't just these random decisions by the map makers to put in cities that don't exist and rivers that we're now finding the dry beds of in the Sahara.
I find that amazing too. Yeah, lots of maps out there with so much detail, and you're like, what? They just fucking made that up?
No, right? And it's that they all had it, and the older the map is, the more of these same details they depict in them, and that they depict Australia and Antarctica as one giant continent, and that both of those, and it's literally called Terra Australis, and it's like, that's before either Australia or the Antarctic were found. And why was that? It's because, well, they knew they were there and they were copying the old information, and then it's like, oh, when it was officially discovered was when they officially got there and were able to trace it and remap it. And that's my thoughts on that. So, right. So here's a prime example of one of the maps where you see the rivers through the Sahara, and right, that has to be pre-cataclysm, and that we're now finding the same dried out riverbeds in these areas.
I have some comments on that map. I love that map, by the way. I know it pretty well. There's a couple of versions of it. That main river, it's coming with the Senegal River complex. So the Niger River eventually. That's the Niger River. Notice how it's completely blank. No sign of any Tamanrasset. The Paleo River that separated Morocco from Mauritania. And it's a real river, but this map doesn't show it. There are a lot of maps that do show that, though. This one, I do think it's related, but they changed it. There's a lot of, I call them the sperm lakes. They have all these different lakes right where you're pointing right there. Yeah, I call those the sperm lakes, but in this map, it's not so prominent. Okay, I'll shut up.
No, absolutely. And so another one is right here. We can see the exploration of the Great Lakes area, and why were there no Great Lakes?
Bernie is in Canada right now. You are in Canada, so you are the expert on Canada, and right now you're showing us.
Right. Well, I'm Western Canada, and Great Lakes are also in America, so you're just as much experts. But point being, well, we now are finding at the bottom of the Great Lakes megalithic stone circles, which are actually astral calendars, and they're megaliths. And that, how would have those been built by humans? Well, or any intelligent species, whatever they were, whether it was giants, humans, hominids, or something else. It was, well, they were done before the Great Lakes existed, because that's the only way to, make megaliths at the bottom of a lake. And all the maps, well, they show this other river that went up to the old continental divide, and not the Great Lakes whatsoever. So that was a copy from before.
When did those Great Lakes show up? It's like, oh, I know that map. Now, if, by the way, go back to those ley lines.
I'm showing some more, right? So here's another one. They all have this old, so there's no Mississippi River down. There's this old river that goes all the way west to the old continental divide, and this old range here of
that could still be Mississippi right there, but the out point, not the crossing over. No, the one I was thinking about was the ley lines, and that one showed right there. Yeah, look at the African node. It's not quite right on the. No, that's Egypt, right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the one over by the Richat structure. That's node number 20, right? And it's actually quite low there, so it's not really up where I've seen it shown a little bit higher. That little line right there, those are also ancient axial equators or something. I can show that, but not here. Go on. Just done. I'm done with that. That thing. Whoa! Is that supposed to be a mountain range or what?
No. So
I mean, the fucking coasts of Morocco are perfect.
This is the Gate Pillars of Hercules. But look, it looks like it's closed pretty much there, and that it's going all the way up. Right. This is the Caspian Sea. This is the outside. So it's 90 degrees off. Right. This is showing the west coast of Africa and Europe right here. And yeah,
to me, and by the way, who are those men down there? If you look at the Puri Reese map, you have two men. One of them is the same guy on the right. That's Mansa Musa for sure.
Yeah.
Then on the left, it was the what was his name of Marrakesh? He was like the sheik of Marrakesh. I can't remember his name. He's on the Puri Reese map. And but way up there. But I think that coastline is quite perfect myself. I know you.
What is this though? With the lighthouse, and it looks like it's made of rocks. You have another.
That was what I was talking about. Yeah.
Is that?
It's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be the Atlas Mountains. To be honest, it's supposed to be the Atlas Mountains because that's where they are.
No, I think it was a giant.
You know what's so funny? You know what's so funny that y'all mentioned about Mansa Musa is that when he went from the Morocco Africa area to Egypt, he actually almost bankrupted them because he gave out so many different coins. He gave out so many
gold. He gave out so much gold that it displaced the price of gold and turned the economy for gold into a panic. Yeah. But what about his brother who went to Brazil? His brother had a book and said, "I'm following this book to Brazil." Right there, right? No, that's Africa. I was thinking South America. And the brother of Mansa Musa is the real mystery. Okay? The brother who walked away from all that power to chase a book. Now, that I can't talk much more about, but he apparently went to Brazil and he never went home. He never got back.
Interesting. This one.
Give a person credit for that.
Lakes.
That's an interesting. I've never seen that one before. Look at it. Look at Antarctica right there. What's the year of that map?
I don't know. It's cut
That's got to be Mu. Look at this map. Shows Mu right there on the right there. Look. Oh yeah, right there. That's got to be Mu.
Yeah. Lots of the old ones all have this in it too, because that's Australia going up to Indonesia. We've been through that before, and South America barely. Just a small channel through. And look at this. We already got We still got Shalaga. Boom.
I don't know the significance of Shalaga. What's the significance?
It's Chicago. It's before it existed. It's from the time before.
Gotcha. Chicago.
Say that one more time. Chicago and Chicago.
Shalaga on all the ancient maps before the Great Lakes, but in the same spot is Shalaga.
That's interesting because let me look.
Hey, Rebirth. I just sent Rebirth. I just sent something to your Gmail address. Check your Gmail. I sent you a photo if you can screen share that because I can't do shit from my end because otherwise I'll freeze.
No, it's no problem, bro. It's no problem. The lag on your side, man, that hurts you a lot. Yeah, I hate that.
Shalaga again.
Another one.
Freaking Chicago, man.
Right, and it's right there. See, it's just the river that goes all the way to these mountains that are the divide. And why would mappers put in fake information? Like people are depending, like their lives are dependent, the explorations going over, funded
Think
by
about
the royals. Like, why would they put in fake cities and fake waterways and stuff? Unless
what human could live with himself giving fake information? Like, I'm just gonna make that up because I don't want to use data that I have. I'm just gonna make something up. Yeah, I can understand it if their map's boring, but yeah, why would they make that
that's
up?
That's what I was saying, is that I like to use actual sources. So when you asked me about Sumer and where was, these places on the map, I know what the academic people say. What I don't understand is how they come up with that, with the boundary lines, because people use boundary lines to say where something was at, and I'm not a big believer on just boundary lines, because they're like, here in America, like, we know that people who came to America came from Europe, right? And we know that they brought their culture, but we're not the same Europeans that came here, right? We developed our own culture over time. So for me, it's just like, I didn't know about the Chicago thing. That's actually interesting to me. And you're showing. Let me ask you, what is your best source for that stuff? Like, just not the maps itself, but like what gives you another indication of that?
But it is the maps. It is.
Yeah, it is literally the maps, and then it's literally on all of them, and it's only on the ones that are pre-Great Lakes, and then all of a sudden the Great Lakes come in, and then it comes back as Chicago. And there's like Mexico, Peru, I believe.
I like how it says
Chile.
Libya right there. It says Libya right there.
Yeah, right.
Right
like
there, yeah.
And
then, by the way, that map, you can see the river system very clear coming from Senegal. That's real life. That's real. Not that. No, that's the stuff we don't know about. Down there, yeah, that's the Senegal River. It turns into the Niger River. It goes over to Lake Megachad. You see that lake on the right? That's Lake Megachad. That's Chad. And then you've got those river systems up in the middle up there that you showed earlier that I said no. Yeah, that one. And that, it's like, what the fuck? Where'd that go? Those are also something that was real one time. And yeah, you don't see the Richat structure or the ancient Tama and Reset River. You kind of you do see Tama and Reset. No. Go over to the coast. Right down below right there. That's it right there. That's it. And I know it is because it shows the fucking Cape Verde above it, that little cape on the coast right there. Yes. And then you've got a fucking connecting river down to Senegal. How does that work out? Where did that come from? Obviously, things change, but in the last 500 years, that river may or may not have existed. I don't know. They got it from either ancient sources. I don't know. These rivers, and then the ones up there, the ones up in the middle of the Sahara, they existed too. They had an idea.
When you talked about the Reese map, I know that map was put together based off of previous knowledge that they have from selling from wherever they came from. I know that just from the basic of understanding that, because a lot of people say, well, how did they know this information? Well, they put their sources together to get that information. Somebody had a source from somewhere else, and they used it, and they went to verify it. It's just like no different than today when you see the Google Maps vehicle verifying the cities and locations over and over and over again. Right? That's how I see it.
Well, it's why we have a chance to recognize inconsistencies, is because they're showing the real shit, and they can't deny that's the real shit. But then look at what Bernie's showing right there, that entry point right there. But if you look at the real thing, there's no fucking huge Hudson Bay. Where's the Hudson Bay? There is no Hudson Bay.
They haven't made it up yet, right? Or it's right here. They just started to try to figure it out, and they're just sending the information back, right? It's like they've made it to here. They're finding this is the Hudson.
But let's be honest. Look, Bernie, Hudson Bay opens up and is 1,000 miles apart, and that little thing turns into a little river. Like something was not the same.
Yeah, right. Because you're right. It's pre. So one thing I wonder is the Madrid earthquake, New Madrid earthquakes or whatnot, where supposedly the Mississippi ran backwards or whatnot. Was that the event that shifted this stuff and created it potentially? And thus, after that, you actually had where the Mississippi is now. Could it have been something?
Okay, wait a minute. Let me just say one thing. I'm looking at that map one more time, and up at the top, you do see that. Oh no, to the left at the top, that thing right at the very top. Could that be Hudson Bay?
Yes, yeah, that's the Hudson Bay now. Yes, yeah.
Okay,
that's from above.
But so you still have that entry to Montreal. It looks. I'm looking at the map right now, but the definitely the Great Lakes are not there. I'm looking at what you're showing is basically the entry point to the Great Lakes.
So that so this is the St. Lawrence, I'm guessing, right? And it's coming in, and they're like maybe made it to one of the lakes or something, or maybe this is it, one or the other. But it's like they're just getting in there, and they're figuring out that it's not the same, right?
But I know the Erie Canal was the only way you can get into the Great Lakes, right? So the Erie Canal is something they said that they created. There was a song about it. Right. I forgot the song about the Erie Canal. But anyways, let's look at new maps. Forget all that. Let's look at new maps. What's this?
This is an Arabic map, also showing the Terra Australis.
What year? I want to know the year.
Hey, that's crazy. That's crazy that you bring this map up, bro. And I'm gonna say that because Fear talks about this a lot. How they never were able to circumnavigate at Antarctica, and I've read books that show continents that's supposed to be beyond the ice wall. Have you been privy onto that information about how they have different continents that is not just 7, that it's actually more if you can go into the depths of where Atlantis is or Antarctica is? I'm sorry.
So I kind of subscribe myself to a torus shape and an inner Earth, but there could be just as much out. Who knows? But that there definitely is something at the poles, or what they call the poles, that either goes in on itself or goes out to more, right? That there is potentially a whole nother dimension or plane of existence of land.
By the way, that last map showed South America touching Antarctica, just like
they all do. They literally all do. They all do, and that there's just this little.
You don't have a year for that map? I'm going to look it up. You keep going.
I can't speak Arabic, but by all means, feel free to translate or look up, because I would love to know too.
I'm just going to ask ChatGPT real quick. You keep going, and I'll tell you what
Rebirth.
I get. How old is this map?
Hey, hold on. What's up, Fear?
Look in your email for that.
Yeah, I got it. I'm about to share it right now.
Share.
Yeah, I'm about to share.
Hey, by the way, it's right here. This map, it's already 1732. So if Antarctica was found in mainstream in 1820, then 1732 is a little bit too early. It's Ottoman Turkish, written in Arabic script. The geography reflects European discoveries.
Hold on, you're gonna have to bring that map back up. I closed it.
Well, ChatGPT told me that. I just took a screenshot. Yeah.
No,
that map dated from 1730 to 1750.
This is the one that Fear sent. This is the one that Fear sent me. And as you can see,
I saw this earlier, right?
Yeah, I got another version of it in that collection I showed.
Look, and by the way, ATL, what does that mean? Atlan. ATL is Atlantis. It's fucking Atlas, ATL. And even fucking Quetzalcoatl has an ATL in it. What does ATL mean?
Well, see, that's the thing. When you read a lot about Masons, that those 3-letter words. Go ahead, Fear. Go ahead.
Or the A means not or no longer. The final T, the tis, derives from the Sanskrit deus or des or tes, meaning nation. Atlantis equal no longer the Tilan or Tolan nation. when Atlantis sank under the ocean named after it, certainly ceased to exist. However, the westernmost extreme Atlantis, which is Mexico above, just represented into another map. But yeah, the in Sanskrit, Tolan, surface, which means surface, a place on the surface. The N refers to the people living on this surface. A, not no longer, Telan, on the surface. Tes, des, or the nation land, or Telan or Tolan, is a part that remained above water. So that's what it says. So in Sanskrit, Atla means not to bear, not to hold up, bottomless, underneath, underworld, hell. Atlan can mean any or all of the following: people of hell, people of the underworld. Patla or Atla, where both Sanskrit names for America come from.
It's very detailed. It makes you wonder where that. Go on.
Well, no, it's interesting to me because everybody has their difference. So in the Nahuatl language, ATL literally just means water, right? So just keeping it very simple on that part, it literally just means water. Found in many places as Aslan and Atlantico, right? Etymologically, right? Examples of at ATL and Talchinali, I believe that's how you say it, which is water and fire. All the three-letter words, like Atlas or Atlan or ATL, Anu sometimes. And when you read about the masonry background, you will learn more about the three-letter words meaning pertaining to certain gods. Like they only had a three-letter word for those gods. Like that's why the Sumerians called them, or the Chaldeans called them Anu, and some people called them An. It's a symbolic way of determining something that is I guess like in a godlike state or something like that. So that's
Can I just say, sorry to interrupt. I hear you. This map bugs me because of this whole island of California bullshit. Let's just be honest. They say it was a mistake, and it was a mistake, and now we know better. By the way, that down below where Baja California starts is the separation between the two plates, right? I do believe that the what do you call it? Thank you. The San Andreas Fault is the separation between the two plates, and it starts there, gets up to the armpit, and connects. And so, yeah, look, cartographers made mistakes. Whenever I see this one, I think it's not some conspiracy. It's just a mistake because I know it's real. I was born in San Francisco. So when I see this map, this one just kind of bugs a little bit. What were you going to say?
Well, I want to ask. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think the island as the Baja is another aspect that's consistently shown from the previous pre-cataclysm, and that since then it's connected somehow, is what I suspect. But and it would make sense to why it's in all of the oldest ones. Again, just wanted to point out the bottom. You see that South America is connecting to Antarctica, and it's labeled unknown world. Unknown world, but they know that there's.
So what it tells me is, even before California was understood, Antarctica was understood. And I have a friend who went there a couple of years ago, and you know what? He told me, oh, it was discovered in 1820, I'd be so disappointed in him. I really would.
So this is them starting to discover the Hudson Bay, and it's right the north entrance. You can see that's the Labrador or Newfoundland or whatever island. I'm a horrible Maritimes Canada, whatever that island is. And then they go up and over, and like they don't have the proportions, right? Like how did they have the proportion of North America so well? Right, but they had to make the Hudson Bay this ridiculously large. It's because they had.
It is good though. Well, slow down, bro. Right. Come on, look over there on the right. You have that thing that almost not the Hudson Bay. Yeah, that part to the right, to the lower. right there. Go to the left. That little stream, that little insert. That's exactly like that other map. Is there any relevance to reality there?
That's the St. Lawrence. This is the St. Lawrence right here. This is them going into the St. Lawrence, and they have yet to
the previous map we were looking at, it's like that without Hudson Bay. It looked okay to me. Like, I'm not really gonna get too.
That's like, what I'm saying, Stig. It's literally they get more distorted as time's going on, as they're rediscovering these areas, trying to map them in with their old model that they've been copying over and over, and they're trying to replace.
It is a copy of a copy, that's for sure.
Yeah,
and let's be honest here. Look at that right there. Why don't they have a single Great Lake in that picture right there? If they have that, that's pretty close. Why don't they have the Great Lakes? They're not there. Where are they?
Exactly. They haven't been there yet.
Yeah, I'd like to know exactly. Massachusetts, the Horn, Massachusetts.
Like where's the armpit? Where's the armpit of my hometown? Where's the armpit of Boston?
Well, you say armpit like it's easy sleazy. I'm talking about the Gulf of California.
You have the shape of Massachusetts. But like, I was
just actually saying, that right there. I can see the Horn.
Massachusetts.
Right there by that horn. You got to look at those lines. Yeah, right there. That little thing go down, right? That little horn is Massachusetts. But at the same time, the lines, do they match up? What are these lines?
Distorted.
We know where the
we
know where the Cape is.
Sorry.
And I meant to say the Tropic of Cancer. It's going through Mexico. It's south of Florida. The Tropic of Cancer touches that island that's supposed to be when you say the armpit, I look at that Baja California island and I say that's the beginning of the arm that turns into an armpit. I've been to that area. That's the Tropic of Cancer. We do have that. Sorry, we do have that one thing.
Get that accurate.
But wait. Going back up to the Hudson Bay, then you have those lines of latitude. Are those lines of latitude true? Why is that one at the top thicker? Is that the Arctic Circle?
Yeah, that's the Arctic Circle, literally. And how were they able to do that, right? Again, you have the other and you have the Antarctic Circle, right? Like, it's crazy.
Here's this map. What year is it? Or do we have a year yet? I can do a screenshot. I love ChatGPT. Go back. It says 1400. Zoom all the way out. I'll do a screenshot and put it in chat. GPT. Go ahead. Zoom all the way out. I'm almost there. Okay, where's that at? Okay, hold on. Here we go. Coming now. Boom. All right. Let me just insert that, and I'll tell you what year that comes out to. ChatGPT has got some good shit going on. I just put it in, and then I say, what year? Actually, I got ChatGPT trained. He doesn't even need the what year. I put a picture in. You tell me everything you can tell me about it. Don't ask me questions or congratulate me. Here it is. Americae Sive Novi Orbis, 1570, Abraham Ortelius.
1570.
And there's Antarctica touching South America.
Yep. And 15, like,
it's like they literally tell us, it was discovered in 1820.
Brazil. Like, was Brazil named Brazil in 1570? Because that's Brazil right there, called Brazil.
What's that circle all about? That's what I want to know.
Right? Like, it's these inner waterways that used to exist. And lots of this should not exist. And then what year is this one? Terra Australia.
That one's just too bizarre. I can't even connect.
Well, that's
come on. It shows Antarctica going up to the equator. Come on now.
Yeah, just enter it in. That's where Australia, right, was part of Terra Australis. This is Australia at that time. Again, you have South America just touching the very tip And you have Ocean Peruñas. You have Peru. You have, again, up here, we have Chilaga. We have Mexicana America.
Okay, now I want to know what year this map is.
Circulus
What year is
Arcticus.
this? Any year? Zoom out. I'm going to grab a screenshot. And by the way, ChatGPT, so smart. Don't need the whole map, right? Just need a little segment. Okay, here it goes. I'm putting it in. I'm just going to put it in too. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to give it the fucking picture. And if it doesn't say like, you're looking at this year, then why am I paying for this? Okay, here we go. It says it's decorative early modern map of the Americas, likely created by Henricus Hondius or Willem Blauw, two prominent Dutch cartographers in the early 17th century. It was likely produced between, now it changes, 17th century. No, that's okay. 1625 and 1650. The label America Mexicana are typical of 17th century nomenclature. The inclusion of Terra Australis, a speculative southern continent, and decorative sea monsters and ship.
We talk about that too. Me and Fear talk about that shit too. Those sea creatures.
Well, megafauna, right? Everything before the Ice Age or the last flood, there was giant sloths, giant bears, saber-tooths, mastodons, woolly mammoth, like megafauna, giant everything. So there probably was giant humans too. And
I was just gonna say, but no giant humans, right? None.
Right? Like,
maybe some.
Right.
And if there weren't giant humans, there were humans with elongated skulls for sure.
Only on Tuesdays.
And yet they had the correct Antarctic circle, as well as called part of it Terra de Fuego, land of fire. Interesting. Chile.
And what is that? El Mar Pacifico at the bottom, Tropic of Cancer, but it says El Mar Pacifico right in the middle, and then Circulus. What is that? Quarry. Oh my God, it must be the equator. Circulus Aquarius.
Exactly.
What is this language? Is this freaking Latin or Spanish? I thought it was Spanish. Now I think it's Latin.
Or Old English. And again, you have Chilaga. And you have the little French territory.
Thank God you always have Chilaga, man. And at the top you have the 4-quadrant North Pole thing.
Yeah, the 4 islands, exactly.
What's that about? You know about that? What's that? Have you seen that, Tyrone?
Yeah, that's why I was talking about the continents. They say there's more continents on this planet than is actually described, and some of them is in Atlantis. I knew about the North Pole and other places also, but I've heard about it.
I've seen the whole thing. Like that's a common thing. Those 4 quadrants.
They're actually in all of the old maps. See right here in this Arabic one, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. They're just spread out because they have it wider. On this one again,
it looks like that old. Yeah. It looks like that old fucking game we used to play, the digital game, the very first one that came out.
To here, and then Terra Australis again.
What was that called?
And then right here.
There it is, right there. Yeah, boom. That's the one I'm talking about.
There.
Now, who did that map? Let me do a quick screen grab. Don't move. Let me do a quick screen grab. Say that again, a Mercator?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Could be wrong.
Okay, I got the screen grab. You can move now. I'm going to put that in there. Do that. Yeah, ask you anything. Go. That map with the 4... What was the game we used to play? It was like a Merlin, right? In 1595, Geradrus Mercador. Language is Latin. Polar projection. Mythical, it says mythical.
Hey, do you hey Stick, do you know who Third Eye is?
Third
Come
Eye,
on,
I
Third
do.
Eye.
Yeah, bring him in. Bring him in here.
Well,
I mean,
he probably
I
won't
had
come in, but he said it's a combination of Latin and Indo-European.
which one?
Yeah, which one, Third Eye? Which one exactly are you talking about? Because he actually just
Go back to
This
the
one
one he
right
was talking.
here.
Go
I'm
back
testing
to
this
the
one.
one you're talking about.
This one, I'm pretty sure.
Look, I don't take everything 100%. I take everything with a grain of salt, but I do look at those river systems. Look at the river system in America up there. America, it has a big old fucking river system coming from the north. What's that supposed to be? Is that a
Right?
guess? And then you've got over like
This
it's
one's
showing
actually the Athabasca, I believe, or no, they're both the Athabasca that now drains into what this giant part that is Hudson's Bay that wasn't there before. And yeah, they've part of it still exists, part of it does not.
Yeah,
Wow.
whatever we're looking at here has a lot of detailed rivers along the coasts. And you're seeing Chilaga, there you go. Why is it right in the middle? All these other rivers are all like highly sus, right? The one over America, you get it from the north. You're talking about, but I'm like, I don't see. Okay, we can see Baja California way down there, that little tiny penis down there. And then we go up the coast. Let's go up the coast, see if we recognize anything at all. Like Los Angeles may or may not have been Los Angeles. Go down to the Baja, because I believe that's too far north. Yeah, right down there. How far so do you see anything that like literally the only river? Okay, look, I know the coast. There's Monterey Bay. Monterey Bay is a big old bay, and then there's the San Francisco Bay. There was also supposed to be a big old lake in the middle of the state of California, like just a couple hundred years ago. There's a lot of covered up history about all this. But according to what I understood, there was actually a bay in the middle of California. I don't see anything that I recognize. The rivers, they're all different. I mean, look at those little islands down by Baja California, down by what is that? The Tropic of Cancer. You see the Tropic of Cancer right there? And there's a little islands right above it. What could that be? I'm going to look at my map and check, but I don't have any idea what that could be. I mean, maybe
it's pre-cataclysm.
I mean, yeah, they're getting their information from pre-cataclysm. I'm looking at the coast right now. There's some islands. There's some islands right by LA. That's it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by LA. But it's that's
nowadays.
Yeah, that's it.
Hawaii.
Nowadays, what?
I said, could it represent those islands like where Hawaii would be today? If the land,
pretty sure these are Hawaii right here.
That far.
Is this?
I kind of agree. I kind of agree with Bernie on that out there. I'm looking at the real world map. It's actually pretty close.
Asking.
Those islands, by the way, the one island we have off the coast of San Diego, San Clemente, or I can't remember which island it is, has like evidence of giants out there.
Yeah, Catalina Island, I believe.
Catalina.
And we have this.
Well, let me ask you guys this: when you say giants, how tall do you think these giants have to be considered a giant?
I'd say 8-9 feet's like the minimum for the small ones, but real giants are like 9 to 18, I would say, and then there's potential for titans from a pre-sun time before that is what I suspect. But yeah, anything.
I got a meme about that, and yeah, the ones that are closer to our age are just a couple feet taller, but the ones in the Bible are like 30 feet tall, and the ones in other ancient texts are a lot taller. So I think that they were big in the past, and then they got smaller over the time. We've even had giants on our own, on TV. Andre the Giant, right? Those guys were small compared to what I believe were biblical.
biblical is exponentially larger.
Well, so this is interesting because in the King James version, Goliath, one of the giants, is known to be 6 cubits in a span. So most people would say that's
what?
Six cubits in a span. So that's anywhere from 6 to 9 feet, depending on what source you use for that.
What is a span? 6 cubits, I know. Cubits are good, but span? Never heard of that.
Well, it's well, let me go back to the etymology real quick. So a span is basically the full extent of something from end to end, the amount of space that something covers.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's basically yeah. So but
so 6 cubits, 6 cubits.
Yeah,
that's 18 inches. So 6 times 18 inches.
So, but when you read the Septuagint, the Greek version, it actually says 4 cubits in a span. So that could be anywhere between 4 to 6 feet or 7 feet, depending on, what you're using as a measurement. So like I said, the King James version uses 6 cubits. The Septuagint actually, the version that I've read of the Septuagint says 4 cubits of a span. So to me, that's very interesting. And that's why I asked, how tall does these individuals have to be considered a giant? But when you read the book of Enoch, right, they literally give a description of these individuals being tall as skyscrapers. But a lot of people would say that there is missing information in that. And what they really mean is they're referencing trees or some kind of natural element on this planet. Like, they say that they found trees that are supposed to be chopped down that actually has a root system. And there's always this argument about that. But that's why I wanted to know specifically what was your guys' idea of
or it's just a general way of saying to shitten back. I mean, like Plato, it was the Pillars of Hercules. Okay, what does that mean to him? In those times, the Pillars of Hercules was the end of the known world. It was to hell and back.
Right.
So in the first paragraph,
example of that was the cubit. Have we misinterpreted and shrunk it down? And was the old cubit actually the megalithic meter, which is like 2.5 meters, which is like 3 or 4 yards or something, I think, or is a yard bigger than a meter?
2.5 meters. Look, a meter and a yard is only 3 inches.
But yeah, so the megalithic meter that they found in all the megaliths, this measurement, it's like 2.5 meters. So it's bigger, right? So it's like, could that be what they replaced as a cubit? I'm not sure, because there's the Egyptian cubit. Did they prove it? Anywho, I'm just going to put this point in, and then we can move on. I just wanted to show, look, they found the Solomon Islands, and they're directly proportional related to where we would find them today in regards to the Australian coast and their longitude, latitude. Yet none of this was supposedly discovered back then. Maybe the islands were, but yet they had Terra Australis and this part of Australia and the Solomon Islands there. Another, how is that possible?
Yep, you're right about that. I'm checking Google Earth. That's all correct.
Right? So it's gotta be leftover copies.
Well, if you look at Google Earth and you look at the change in color, you see pre-cataclysm water levels could have been anything. And we don't know what we're looking at with Google Earth. But I'm looking at Solomon Islands.
I got to add one thing, is that on Google Earth, the continental shelf from Antarctica to Australia there, it's literally in these areas, you can see that it's like higher up in the ocean and that it appears as lighter colored water. The same with the continental shelf of South America, of this portion that no longer exists. That you can see it visible in South America's continental shelf. And
we could be being lied to by not just that map, no, but what I'm looking at in Google Earth, it looks like not impossible, but we could be being lied to by Google, and Australia connected to that, no problem.
Here's all your little spermy, as you call them, your sperm lakes in Africa.
There they are, the sperm lakes. Oh my God, sperm lakes.
Very, very interesting.
Well, but go back to the sperm lakes and look for the Taman Rasset. You can see if you zoom in, there's the Cape Verde. Go down to Cape Verde. And then that right there is Cape. Fuck, I forgot. Cape. Shit. That's it. That's the Taman Rasset. And by the way, when you look at these ancient maps, I don't want to get too emotional, so I'll just zoom in here. Go look for the word Hoden, Hoden. That's probably the same as Wadan, the Wadan city that I visited 3 times for sure. Wadan was a major traffic area for salt and other stuff, international trade. There's ancient roads that I found out I was at, and Wadan or Hoden is a major sign that it's still on the map, 1500s, even earlier. Right there, you'll see it, Hoden. Okay, so right there, you see the Tropic of Cancer. And below that is the next line. That's the Cape, I want to say Verde, but that's wrong. Cape what? That's that one right there. That's where the Eye of Africa is. You might even see it right there there. I've seen this map before. It's not my first time. But I never found Hoden, right? There's no Hoden. You can definitely see that in that map was really good with the what do you call it? The Senegal River Complex. The Senegal River Complex has got to be fake.
Okay, when was this Arabic map made? Can you
that's like the same one. That's like this. Okay, I'll do a screenshot. I'll do a screenshot. Hold on. Don't move. Let me do a screenshot.
Ask it.
Keep talking.
Translate it too. Ask it to translate it.
Good luck with that. Fuck.
No, I'm actually gonna do it too, just to compare what you got and
Okay, so I'm just gonna grab it and I'm gonna put it into. Okay, I'm not even gonna say anything, but then I'm gonna say translate it also. So let's do that.
Look at this part. Here we have the Baja Coast, but then what is this freaking island right next to it? That what we're seeing the Baja Coast Islands as? Because you got both. Very
okay. So it didn't tell me the year. Are we on the same thing? Did you move? You didn't move. Where's the year? Is it no year, man?
Yeah, they're not going to tell you.
What is the year of this map? I need the year. I always say it twice with ChatGPT. Otherwise, it doesn't understand.
Hey, I'm gonna pull it up real quick. Hold on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So this is what
it says here. It's not even speaking English. Okay. At the very end, it says 1616. But it gives me all this weird shit.
Yours says 1616?
Finally, yeah. Finally. After a bunch of other bullshit.
So this is what mine says. Hold on, let me move this to the other screen real quick. It says you're looking at the FET. Yeah, it says this one right here, right?
That's not the map I got.
No, that's not
the map I got is that Arabic one.
Oh,
it's got a big old red.
Yeah, it did the wrong one. Yeah, I copied and pasted the wrong one. My bad. Hold on. Yeah, I see what I did. Hold on, me. Yep, I see what I did. I copied the wrong one.
This is an Ottoman Turkish map written in Arabic script. It appears to be a T0 TO style world map or a classical Islamic geography based map.
It's too big.
With a rotated orientation. That's what? I don't see rotated orientation. South is often at the top. No, this is not rotated orientation. So already I don't trust ChatGPT.
Or the information they gave it.
Let me try it on mine.
Daddy, do you want to hear this song?
Who's that?
That's my baby girl. She's playing the Switch next to me. Dang, why is it not loading? Hold on, let me.
Well, already I lost faith in what I was reading because it said it was north. It wasn't north to south. To me, it looks fine north to south, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So go on. I'm done talking about it. Go on.
No, you're right about that point. It is properly orientated.
Hold on.
Well, this is a Chat GPT whatever. I put it into Chat GPT. I said translate it to English. So let's go to that part.
No, I'm about to
Summary
do it now.
translation. It says this map shows regions such as Spain, North Africa, blah blah blah, and China, Sea of Darkness, Atlantic, with geographic labels in Arabic and south up orientation. It sounds like a bullshit answer.
Okay, so this is what it says on mine. It says this is an Ottoman Turkish world map, and it is written in Arabic script. It says translation of the Manjlar text: Vimihu Sedadu ve Alina Tika in Salahu Rahman. Literal, and from him is success, and upon us is trust or reliance, God willing, the most merciful. And it was a stylized form of the Sultan's Tagra Imperial. In this map likely belongs to Sultan Muhammad of the 19th century. So, let's see. Give me a source. Because this is what I like to ask ChatGPT. Give me a source. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, it says also used in a...
Thank you, Cracker Shot, for sticking with it. You've been here for a while. Thank you, Cracker Shot. Sorry, keep going, Tyrone.
Hold on, I'm about to type a link. Give me a link.
Cracker Shot, man, he's still commenting after 2 hours. You gotta love Cracker Shot.
3 hours, 3 hours and 30 minutes. 3 hours and 30 minutes in this. 3 hours. Yeah, we'll probably go another 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're like usually we don't.
It's 4 hours. 4 hours, 3.5 is a long stream for sure.
Come on, Bernie, we're doing the after video. After this, we're gonna go live, right? Another 4 hours. What do you say?
Tomorrow.
We at least got to hit 3:33, you know?
All right, yeah. So you know what we'll do then is off of what Fear says, we'll stop it at 3 hours and 33 minutes. We appreciate everybody coming in, but then we'll just start another. And if y'all want
at
to,
least have to hit that.
Oh
no, I just said we at least got to hit that. We can continue to go, and we just got at least got to hit that magic number.
Yeah, you're right about that. If we don't hit that fucking magic number, then I ain't fucking continuing for shit. I'm logging off and going to bed.
All Stigs.
no. So all these things, it doesn't really give you a source for it. Like I asked it to give me a source.
I guarantee they refuse to put the information in because the Arabic source gives it a date that like isn't allowed to be. It's like it's older than it's allowed because it's showing information that it shouldn't be because they copied it off of the older source maps.
Yeah, it definitely says that. It definitely says that. It says part of the Quarry Reese map and all this other stuff too. So
Good old famous Perry Reese.
Good old Perry fucking Reese. By the way, includes part of goddamn what's his name? He sailed the ocean blue. And his map's in there. It's a little questionable. But they really got the coast of Africa perfect in that Perry Reese map. For sure. But I mean, come on, Christopher Columbus is basically referenced in the Perry Reese map. That's just weird. It's weird.
That is.
Africa's perfect, but North America, South America is like a big old maybe thanks to this guy named Christopher Columbus. I mean, I don't know.
They got stuff from Harvard that shows this. Let's see. Let's look at this. Oh, so this is from the Ottomans of. See, that's the only thing that I don't like about ChatGPT is it doesn't really give you maps of the Middle East. Here we go. Library of Congress. Oh, look. Sorry, we can't. Hold on, let me show you. I just typed it in, and this is what it says. Library of Congress says this. Library, we can't find what you're looking for. It gives you a source.
The Library of Congress says no.
Yeah, see, that's that's interesting. with the maps, because a lot of people I've heard have said that the Pyre Reese map is a forgery, and I don't know how they get that, but I guess they whatever source they use, they like to say that. Let me get back to this.
It's just their bias, their cognitive dissonance. They need to find a way to debunk it. Like, how do all of these maps have the exact same things all showing? And again, Terra Australis, again, South America touching it, again, this extra part, again, the rivers that don't exist in Africa but do, again, no Great Lakes, again, Shalaga, again, a different Hudson Bay, again, the 4 islands.
I can accept the Hudson Bay thing. I can accept the Hudson Bay, but everything else, it just doesn't add up. They're covering it up. I think it's a cover-up, in my opinion. Tonight, I'm drinking Maker's Mark. Got myself a small bottle. I paid too much. It's almost gone. When this is done, I'm done. Keep talking. Oh shit! Sorry, I got the wrong.
Well, let me ask you guys, how long do you all want this stream to be? Because I
wanted to go all night. I wanted to go all night.
I'm ready to call her a night though, because I got to do stuff. So
all right, we'll end the stream at least, and we can still have our internal discussion thing with Stig after this. Yeah, so that's good. I appreciate everybody that came in. I appreciate you streaming this.
Yeah, we can do that.
Hey, by the way, it's been a while. Let's give what's our channels? Everybody talk. Tyrone, you go first. Fear, you go second.
All right, so I'm on Facebook, on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I have my own YouTube channel. Of course, I have a bestseller out there, Journey Through the Origins of History. It can be found on Amazon. And just like to share a lot of stuff that I've learned doing my due diligence and my research. So that's it, really. You go ahead, Fair.
And everyone can find me on Twitter right now because I'm not pretty much on any other platforms. But other than that, I'm working on a cookbook, and all the videos that I do and all the discussions that I do it with Rebirth, so you can find me anywhere he's at. But as far as my own projects, I got it going on, but however, I have some things on the back burner that need to be taken care of first. So be on the lookout. Yeah.
You say you have a channel?
No, not as of yet right now. That it's on the back burner.
What's your Twitter? I want to join your Twitter right now.
Rebirth, can you bring that up? Because if I screen share, I'm gonna freeze like a motherfucker.
No, just tell me I'll get it on Twitter once we search it. I just gotta search it. Where's
no? I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up for you. Matter of fact, I'll just send you his
at. I need your at.
Yeah.
I don't know how to actually. I can't see it. There it is. Explore. There we go. I found it. Fucking Twitter. Okay, go ahead. Twitter. Give me any hint.
Pretty soon. In Twitter, put at Faris. F is in Frank. EAR. So fear. Then IECE _. Trev. TREV. My name is Trevor. So that's
Trevor P. Trevor Peer. Yep. Furies. Yep. Furies. Trevor P. Trevor. Follow.
Yep. The one that I use right now is the PFP of a Demon Vegeta.
Gods, Guns, and Glory.
Fuck yeah.
Awesome. All right. I'm gonna I cut everybody else.
All right, it's your turn.
It's Bernie.
Bernie, it's your turn.
Just call him Bernie. His name's Bernie. And by the way, I have to thank you so much, Bernie. He's been supporting me so well for the last 2 years. I don't remember. I guess we got kind of connected with that other guy. Yep, and Exertus. And then suddenly you were like my best supporter, giving me motivation all those years, all that time. So I want to keep going. And I do apologize because I was in Cosmic Summit. We did a video, we did a live stream, but I wasn't there the next night.
I wasn't there. It's all good, brother. It is all good.
Yeah, that was a good video. I was like, let's do it again. And then the next night, something happened. Suddenly I'm getting like all these bitches got their titties in my face and like they're like putting joints in my mouth. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
That's why I was like, Stig, you just do you. You do not worry.
Y'all remember this shit?
You did say that. You said that. I remember. But I do owe you because I promised you. I'm like, let's keep going. Let's keep going. I want to keep going. And then suddenly I'm getting laid. I mean, you can't keep going when you're getting laid. Okay. Next.
There's children next to Rebirth.
No, he's not. No, you can't hear nothing. I got my headphones on.
Oh, thank God for that. I'm sorry. Good
Mom,
eye. Good eye.
Virgin ears.
Okay, Crypto. Bernie, tell us everything about you. You got 1 million channels. What's the best way to connect to Bernie?
Crypto Alchemist 369 is my main one. My backup is Burneye, Burneye. Those are on YouTube. Yeah, then I got accounts on all the other platforms, but I won't get into that. More importantly, 1 month from today, August 5th. Well, I guess it's August 6th now, but hey, you're on the West Coast, so it's still the 5th. 1 month from today, I will be at Tesla Tech in New Albuquerque.
You mentioned that. I saw that.
And
Tesla Tech where? New Mexico? Wait, you're going to be in New Mexico?
Yes, sir. Albuquerque.
Oh, my God. You definitely got to come out and visit me here in California. Yeah, it's a few miles away. I mean, maybe 500, depending. I got to check the map.
We will see. Hopefully.
What is Tesla? What is it going to be about? That Tesla what?
Tesla Tech. So I'll be going a presentation on my electrolysis alchemy, the cold fusion, the monoatomic.
You're presenting. Yeah,
I'm one of the head presenters. And
awesome.
I'll be going over the coils. I'm going to be putting together. I'm actually head of their media team, so I get to do some live stream panels and private interviews with the likes of the other presenters, such as Terrence Howard, Dr. Wei Ping Yu, PhD of NASA, head of NASA's Department of Everything, Jared Polak with his fourth state of water and the exclusion zone structured water, Dr. Bob Greenyear of the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, doing cold fusion stuff as well. I will be there, and literally countless more that I can't even begin to name. Got to just look it up and be there.
That's amazing. I can't believe that. Tyrone.
Yeah. What's up?
Give it back to us. How do we connect?
Well, I already did mine. I was the first one. You remember?
You did yours?
Yeah, I already did mine.
Say it again real fast just to test you. I haven't done mine. I'm Stig. DavidStigHansen.com. Yeah, go to DavidStigHansen.com. I was just at Cosmic Summit, did 2 panels. Don't ask me how it turned out. I think I got cut off too fast each time. I didn't get to give my full message. And would I do it again? We'll see about that. But I got to get paid.
Yep, everybody got to get
paid.
You got to get paid.
All right.
So we're gonna end it right there with everybody in the stream. Where we're just gonna have our own private conversations from there. Hey, I appreciate it, Bernie. We got to do this again.
Absolutely.
David, Stig. We got to definitely do this again. Hey,
like tomorrow, whatever.
Shit, we can do this as much as you want. I already told you this is what I do. I'll probably play with my daughter Minecraft while I'm doing this because I told her I'll be playing with her Minecraft. So I'll play Minecraft and still have a conversation at the same time because this is the shit that I love and enjoy doing. This is actually our longest stream that we had, 3 hours and 42 minutes. It went pretty long and pretty good, but it's good because the information that we're sharing and the information that everybody's sharing is a piece of it. And we
quickly wanted to share one last piece of information, and these are the geoglyphs of Medicine Hat, Alberta. These are satellite or airplane photos of the different face geoglyphs. This is a road. This is an oil derrick. That's an access road just for scale. You have the warrior face.
It's so perfect, you know.
Another face, and this guy as well.
Yeah, it's so perfect. Yeah, it's like they were painting for people flying over. They were making illustrations.
Yeah, well,
you see that with the Nazca lines. You see that with so many things.
They are connected to the Nazca lines. It was actually geoglyphology of Arthur Ferrum who deciphered the actual mapping that the geoglyphs do, and from the Nazca lines is how he originally found this original face and this original face. And then since then, I've gone down to this location. I found several more, including these guys. And, well, I guess I can show some more. Oh, over here, while I was there, these are the hills making it up. And you can see these parallel terraces. Literally every single face of the hills covered in terraces, artificially constructed. You can see another little face there. They're all over this valley, and they are not natural, not pareidolia, and we'll cover that in the next episode and go in depth, I guess.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's set that up. We do these every Saturday around 9:30, 10 o'clock. So if you want to, definitely on Saturdays is when we do.
By the way, Bernie here is cray with his freaking YouTube. Every time I'm looking at my notifications, it's one of his channels is just shooting off. This guy got it under control. Trust me. We got to be learning from him. Crypto, we got to learn from you. I got to have what you got. And I don't even give a shit about YouTube monetization anymore. But you, like every single freaking hour, you got something shooting off in my notifications. What's your basic schedule? I mean, come on. It's like everything's going off.
I'll be back with you next Saturday, and we'll discuss some more once this is done.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. Hell
Awesome.
yeah. So I appreciate everybody coming out. This is all of us. We're going to start doing this more often. Cheers, everybody.
I'm still drinking. Drinking. 3.5 hours later, drinking still. Good night.
Good
Can't tell it all.
Thanks, everyone.